Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cinematic Schematic, the official podcast of the Cinematropolis.com, your home to thoughtful conversations on film. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and today we're here to talk about... What's this? There's been a title change. Already? Guys, sorry, Kevin Feige's talking to me on the line right now. Give me a second. Okay, but I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it yet. Okay. Can I put a bleep in? All right. Yes, sir. Give me the fucking X-Men. All right, so today we're going to be reviewing Thunderbolts with an asterisk. What is the asterisk? Well, I just got off the line with the big guy himself, and he told me to spoil it, but I'm going to save you the favor and not do it for you. So we're reviewing Thunderbolts asterisk. We're going to start, as we always do, with an icebreaker question before jumping into a spoiler-free review where we'll provide a verdict on the film, and then we'll conclude the show with an in-depth spoiler discussion. Joining me today is yet another ragtag band of podcaster, film reviewers, filmmakers, all of them who have sadly been, put into like a D-list spin-off TV show. Well, we're bringing them all back for this review of Thunderbolts. My own Bucky Barnes, my own Winter Soldier. He's my co-host, an award-winning Oklahoma filmmaker, the top-billed B-lister of Oklahoma City film critics. I was going to say it's B, not D. I don't respect my B.
Welcome to the show, Laron Chapman. You're always an A-lister in my heart.
Oh, thank you. Happy to be here.
So if you're the Bucky Barnes of Oklahoma City, are you the Congress run? Are you here to make an announcement today?
Oh yeah. I'm stepping down. I resign. I'm not running for office. I'm retiring and going to another island. So yeah.
That's what Bucky probably did after this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Right. With the mutants coming in, do you mean Krakoa?
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are taking him off his leash. He was previously seen in our Joker Fala Adul podcast, in which we kept him on the leash to talk about all of the crazy comic book lore. He is the co-founder of the Oklahoma Film Society, a film producer here in Oklahoma. Alex Palmer, welcome back to the show. Welcome to being off the leash.
Thank you for having me. I feel off the leash. I am ready to talk about a lot of comic book lore that is going to make your audience skip forward.
Or they're going to listen intensely.
I hope somebody does, because it's a lot of good stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're super excited to have Alex back, and we did have Daniel Bokemper slotted for the show. He actually entered the studio, and then, surprise to me, they just popped him. He's gone. Yep. They just removed him from the roster like that. I need to verify that he's okay. So sorry, Daniel. Condolences. I hope we'll see you again in the future. I mean, sometimes just like this movie, characters show up and boom, they're just gone. I don't know how that happens. To round out our cast, he is the host and producer of the podcast Movies Are Life, Nathan Chandler. Nathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, especially listening to a lot of podcasts. I was sent here to kill all of you, but thankfully we, all found some common ground and were able to band together for this podcast.
Yes.
I'm sweating it out, guys. Well, I'm glad that we were able to find some common ground to bond over the Thunderbolts. So please don't kill us before this show.
I'm glad our mutual trauma brought us together.
I'm the dude in scrubs. Okay, I don't know why I'm here at all.
So Nathan was so kind to invite me onto his show a little while back. We reviewed The 40-Year-Old Virgin, which, hey, it gave me an excuse to revisit that movie. We talked about it on your show, Movies Are Life. Check that out. Yeah. I have very mixed feelings about that movie as it stands now. Part of me is very still endeared in a lot of ways. In other ways, as you might expect, you're like, ooh, this would not get made today.
Yeah, which is funny because you don't think it's that old of a movie, but when you see it, it feels dated in a lot of ways, actually. But
yeah, they work at a retail store where people buy things.
You remember physical media?
People are confused about how eBay works in it.
Yes.
So listeners, you can go check that out. Now, before we get to today's review, I want to note, if you are listening to the show and you enjoy our conversation, you can make sure to support us by subscribing to the show on any of your preferred podcast apps, even YouTube, audio only YouTube. You could hit Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Giving us those ratings and follows helps us get discovered by more Thunderbolts just like you. That's right. If you're listening, welcome to the squad. We've all got trauma. Let's bond over it. Speaking of trauma, we're gonna get to the fun conversation here in a minute. We had some breaking news that occurred over the weekend as I was actually after I had sort of arranged and organized a show. And like other important things in the world, such as the writers and actors strikes we talked about a couple of years ago, and then COVID shutting films down several years ago, we thought it might be important to at least acknowledge that there is some pretty significant rumblings happening in the film industry as of Sunday afternoon. Short version is the president of the United States ordered 100% tariff on foreign-made movies to, in quotes, save dying Hollywood. So according to Reuters, President Trump on Sunday morning announced that 100% tariff on movies produced outside the country, saying that the American movie industry was dying a, in quotes, very fast death due to the incentives that other countries were offering to lure in filmmakers. And again, to continue the quote, this is a concerted effort by other nations and therefore a national security threat. It is in addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda, according to the president on his social media platform. I want to acknowledge this is a thing. We're not here to really weigh in on the politics of it. But in this case, the politics sort of came to us in terms of like film fans. So I just want to start, we'll all kind of weigh in, talk about why it might be noteworthy, and perhaps what it can mean for the industry very quickly, and then we'll move on. But I would just say whether or not I think this is a good idea, and I think it's a terrible idea, he's right about one thing, which is the film industry has been in a very volatile state since COVID. And I think and I'm speaking specifically about the box office largely, we have failed to reach the heights of 2019 since 2019. And I think what made the timing of this really interesting and very concerning to me was this was sort of according to like box office analysts and people who are frankly a lot more qualified to talk about this than me. This was really expected to be the summer when we got back to air quotes business as usual, as in there's not the sort of like COVID caveats about why audiences aren't there. There's not strikes that are maybe perhaps meaning we are getting fewer movies and maybe of lesser quality. This was really the summer where we were going to be getting a lot of kind of like the studios throwing their biggest hits at the wall to see what sticks and what makes money with the hope that we could sort of get back to pre-COVID levels in terms of box office revenues. So the timing is interesting. I think clearly the industry is volatile. The timing is concerning because I'm also like, I don't know if politicizing the state of the business is going to help literally anyone. And I'm also concerned things like international cinema. I think if you're an anime fan, things like the Studio Ghibli films that come over here via things like Max, or if you are a Crunchyroll subscriber, or even things like films you might be able to get from other, like horror films you might get on from other countries that you could watch on something like Shudder. International cinema is a really essential part of the ecosystem, both in terms of what people watch, but also Parasite won Best Picture in 2020. So it's a push. It's not just, hey, we're getting movies internationally. We're getting movies that are sort of pushing the industry forward creatively as well. So we could go down a list of, why this might be a concern. But I've been talking long enough. Laron, Chapman, I just want to throw it to you. What are your kind of like general thoughts on this?
I mean, it's concerning. Obviously, like I said, not politicizing it. This does to me feel like a huge diversion from other things. But I mean, him using this as a tactic. Obviously, he uses Truth Social as a lot to tweet out things that he may or may not do, bait and switching. But
truths, they're called truths,
right? But he does also follow through with some of these things that he says he's going to do. So there's also like, it's not something to ignore, I would say. But something that is concerning is something I was thinking about during this was that he does realize that a lot of these studios hire overseas for VFX and animation houses in post-production, and then do we retroactively now, like movies that are now, like when does this, let's say this goes into effect next year. There's a lot of movies that are going to be in a weird limbo in that regard in terms of you just double the, you know what I mean? Like how is this going to affect them financially? It could just cripple a lot of that. I think it doesn't seem thought through. That's what is very clear from what he's saying thus far. And then there's also the idea, because there's the implication. You think of movies like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Schindler's List, Mission Impossible,
Avatar,
Gladiator, movies that have that globe-trotting aspect to it. Like so many of these U.S. movies are shot overseas, so now it's like, do these films have to shoot in the U.S. from now on? Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's
Christopher Nolan's next major film, The Odyssey, is being shot all over the planet. Probably one of the most anticipated movies of this 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it sounds like he hasn't thought this through, and it sounds like he hasn't thought about the complexity of what that is going to do to the industry at large. And so I feel like that's. I hope that enough people make enough noise about that, and that the right, people with good faith, arguments come to him and advise him that this is not a good idea, for a whole host of reasons. If this is some kind of political target against the liberal media, in his mind, I'm like, there's still so many people who work in the film industry. There's no, we're a mass of many different cultures and groups. So this is going to hurt everybody, not just the people he doesn't care about.
And even America, even America. So, for example, part of the reason we do things overseas is, one, you get access to a different talent pool. You mentioned VFX houses. Two, a lot of times it's just simply cheaper to film there. So, for example, like if Christopher Nolan's able to save $100 million because he's filming overseas, I'm making this up. This is not real numbers, but maybe he wouldn't have filmed the movie at all if he couldn't guarantee those sorts of incentives.
Exactly.
Right.
Game of Thrones is just going to be where it's going to be shot now.
Right. Also, does it qualify TV shows? No, it doesn't say TV shows. And then also it just what counts as an international import? Right. Is it actually movies made by international studios that are imported to the U.S., or is it, as you're kind of laying out, is it anytime we work in another country, we get 100% tariffs on top of those roles or whatever? Right. It's very unclear.
Yeah.
Alex Palmer, what are your thoughts on this?
I have a ton, but to kind of break it down, the whole idea of tariffing films is kind of confusing because films don't come in like units on a boat.
Right.
So I
It's not one good that
it's a service more than a
exactly. It's a concept than it is.
And so there's a lot of oddity with that. From what I was kind of like the reading I was going on, apparently John Voight was at Mar-a-Lago this weekend and was talking with Trump, and there's been rumors that he's been trying to advocate for a federal film incentive, a la Britain and France and a lot of other places, which I don't think would work well here. I also don't see our Congress getting behind that. Mm-hmm. I also think that would probably be bad because that would just shift everything back to California instead of where it's spread out across the nation. So I don't think it's very odd because nobody knows how this would work. Films are so international now in so many ways, like what is and what isn't like an international film, because it said you could shoot here, then go to New Zealand to go work with Weta. So I don't even as I said, like the whole thing, and I was reading a bunch of stuff. I was on Deadline and a bunch of other things. Nobody even knows how this would work. And I think that's the main thing is that, and I understand that apparently this idea is because Voight and some other people have raised the issues that we're competing against these tax incentives from other countries to try to combat that. But also some movies have to be shot in other countries. I'm sorry, but I don't know of any place in Arkansas that looks like Troy.
Right.
You're gonna have to go to the Mediterranean for that.
And it sounds like he has a lot of good it's like the idea that like you said, as you started this off, the industry is suffering for a whole host of different reasons. Mm-hmm. We could acknowledge that. And if there is an incentive, I don't care who it is, Trump or anyone else, if they make things better in that regard, great. But the problem is that it's his method for doing it that everyone has a question mark on. We're like, but the tariffs don't seem like the way to do that.
If you want to help our industry, force Netflix to put more movies in theaters.
100%. I texted Laron, and I'm again not an expert, but I said if you're going to blame anyone for Hollywood suffering right now, blame Netflix. And what I mean by that is Netflix has actually been an industry leader in establishing studios in other countries. Why? Because they can get talent that's 90% as good for 25% cheaper or more. Mm-hmm. And so it's been, and also it keeps them from having to rely on Hollywood. Oh, there's wildfires. Well, productions are shut down in Hollywood. We've got production houses all over the country, so we don't really have to slow down our content pipeline. Yep. There's a whole lot of reasons for it, but Netflix also has brought all this content into one flat price point for subscription plans, which, as you point out, does not drive money like bring a movie to theaters. So again, nothing against Netflix. I love Netflix, but. And
I'm thankful to people like Ryan Johnson who are fighting against those sorts of things.
You got to rage against it. You got to rage against Ted Sarandos.
Absolutely.
But the other thing, and usually when you institute a tariff, it's because there's some sort of trade deficit. There's no trade deficit for American filmmaking. We are a juggernaut. Like we distribute our stuff all over the globe.
Yeah.
Like you can go to the smallest countries in the world and you're going to see American films in their theaters. They're not making their way in. Now some are. Listen, as I said, we're all kind of millennials here, so we all grew up watching kind of dubbed anime. Then we got into subtitled anime, and so people of our generation are less afraid of subtitles,
right?
And so things like that are coming in from other countries are doing better now because we're not afraid of subtitles like our parents were. But we are a we are a massive distributor of films across the world. We don't really have any sort of trade deficit with that. So I don't know. I'm very confused about this and what they want to do. Like once again, these other countries have their incentives, but so do our states.
Well, that's the whole thing. We have state incentives across the country, not a national incentive. Oklahoma, for example, has a significant
large
incentive.
Yeah.
And they're making a big one, and they're trying to get one passed in Texas. I don't know how that's going to go. I know that they're really pushing for it. You have Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey reprising their roles from True Detective doing commercials. And California is working on one too now, which is kind of crazy to think that California has to do that. But yeah, it's very odd. Everything I read, someone said, I don't know how this will work, and that's the problem. Is no one knows how this would work or how you would do this. And it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, if I look at the gaming industry, which we went through this whole exercise about 3 weeks ago, which is, oh no, they're issuing tariffs on a thing that's not, it's like a car. This piece of technology is shipped all over the parts are from all over the world and assembled in this country and then shipped over to the United States or wherever they're going. It's like to just put a flat tariff on it, really potentially ruins that entire ecosystem. So for example, and I'm using gaming here just because it's been pretty hot news discussion the last week, but like Xbox from Microsoft this week announced all their consoles are going up by like $70 to $100. And these are like 3-year-old consoles. Usually it would be the reverse where you're lowering prices.
Yeah.
But why is that? Now, granted, I don't think the tariffs are the only reason they're doing that, but it is the reason they're giving. Oh yeah, tariffs are inflating the cost to put these together. So we're going to use the opportunity
we talked about that, like how an iPhone would be like $4,000, if we because there's so many different pieces in this that come from different countries. So it's like, it's like, it seems like there's a fundamental misunderstanding about who all is involved in every, in all these different companies. And so it just feels like he doesn't have a holistic picture of the consequences of tariffs.
Well, and the consequence being,
for the consumer.
Well, that's what I'm saying. For the consumers, you might price people out, which means you have less people going to movies. Like, so studios are like, oh man, again, I keep saying The Odyssey just because I know it's a huge international film. It's got a massive budget.
It's the only movie that matters, Caleb.
Right. Well, sure. But it's like, that's probably a $250 million budgeted movie, right? Okay. Well, because of the tariffs, now it's $500 million. Well, how on earth are they going to pay for that? Well, I guess we're going to have to increase ticket prices. Oh, wait, people are already feeling like they can't go to the movies because of ticket prices. So you're just going to scare off more people. That's less money in the ecosystem. Anyway, the economics of it are not great. And if you do that, I don't know, Nathan, you've been kind of quiet. Anything you want to add?
No, you all hit on all my hesitancies about this whole thing, but I think more than anything kind of makes me sad from the just art perspective of what this will do. Because obviously I think why we all love film is the ability to bring all types of different people and cultures together, and just the fact that that's going to just fragment that even more is just not a great thing. I mean, even like this movie today, kind of forces you to sit through the credits. So I watched a lot more names than I ever would on, a daily basis. And if you look at the list of credits, I mean, and the people that it brings together, they're definitely not all from America. And I think
the UK unit.
It's a rainbow of the world. Right, like literally, it's like Carmen Sandiego watching the credits.
Right.
Yeah. It's the one thing that brings all of our divided nations together.
Yeah.
It's the one thing that we come together on in that regard. The one
to make movie with shooting and punching.
Exactly. Well, yeah.
We all love it.
Entertainment.
And then and I'm sure we might talk about a little bit of this movie. I hear like a lot of people what they enjoyed about this movie, and you kind of talked about the other franchises similar to Mission Impossible, but there was a lot of practicality to this movie. It didn't feel as green screen, and movie connoisseur or not, I think people subconsciously respond to things even if they might not know, oh, that's a green screen or that sort of thing. So that kind of makes me sad for that. I mean, that's why we go to the movies, like to see, James Bond in Italy or whatever country. And I just couldn't help, as you all were talking, to think about, like, I love the Before series by Richard Linklater. Yes. It's like, what happens to that movie if it's not in... He's shot in the streets of Paris.
Right.
Like there's those indie movies that rely on those type of settings that, it might really, really hurt that industry.
I didn't even think of it from that perspective. It's like the lasting consequences of that would mean that we're not going to a lot of foreign countries. So we'll just be using, like bad CGI or whatever and that would definitely
we don't need the Eiffel Tower. We can go to the Paris and Las Vegas.
And then on top
and how much
to make AI a thing, because you get rid of that and then next thing you know, all that's left is like, well, we don't even need actors anymore because they're not really even in Paris. We don't even need their real people.
Real quick, you've made a movie. How much easier it would be without the actors?
No comment is what I'm hearing.
A lot. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, they're great. They never complain about anything.
So the sentiment you can hear from us across the table is we have a lot of questions. We lack a lot of confidence in the plan because it seems like the plan's not thought through. All that's to say,
but call us Trump. We got the answers.
We know what's up.
We'll take consulting available anytime.
2 weeks later, all of us
just
are at
get me in the room. Get me in the room. I'll change your mind.
But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. We typically talk about politics as it relates to the films when that's appropriate. But we generally, in terms of like current day stuff, we try to keep it focused on films, film industry. This is a pretty big one though that we need to acknowledge because in 5 years, depending on how this goes, it could have pretty substantial.
Yeah, and this conversation
incomes.
will be different. We'll be talking about.
I said outcomes. All right. Well, that said, let's move on to something a lot more fun, more related, closer to the Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts is the kickoff to the 2025 summer blockbuster movie season. Pew pew. Yeah,
just like lightning.
As you may recall, last year we got The Fall Guy, which we all. I mean, I think Laron, you and I think we really liked it a lot. I thought it was a great kickoff to the summer blockbuster season. Unfortunately, audiences did not agree and just did not show up.
It was a great GMC
ad. But Thunderbolts brings us back to Marvel kicking off summer, which they've done basically every summer, removing last year for the better part of a decade. So I thought this might be a fun opportunity to do a little sneak peek at what we are most excited to see this summer. What is your most anticipated movie of summer 2025? Alex, I'll throw it to you first.
There is an untitled film coming out in July. It is apparently a rom-com dealing with race, starring Kendrick Lamar, that has apparently being written and directed by Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Oh, yes, I heard about this.
Nobody knows anything about this.
Yes.
But you get Kendrick Lamar, you get the guys from South Park, and I am very interested of whatever this could be. That's a very interesting combination of people. I love Kendrick Lamar. I love Trey Parker and Matt Stone. I am very interested to see what they cook up.
100%. That's been... It kind of comes and goes in the news cycle, but people are kind of sleeping on the fact that that's a thing that's actually going to happen this summer.
It doesn't have the title yet. I think that's what's kind of like, that's what's kept it from getting, and with those names involved, they don't need a lot of marketing. They can just throw it out there, and we're going to watch it. So that seems like a lot of fun. Then of course, like any comic book collector, like I'm really hoping Superman does well, because if not, like my collection's going to be worth a lot less.
That's the only reason.
I have a big financial stake in this. Okay, guys, like my portfolio could take a big hit. So,
I mean, I can't say I blame you. I'm also very excited about Superman, but first I want to see, what is Nathan most excited to see this summer?
Yeah. So I will say Superman film, just because I'm not a big DC person, so I haven't seen a lot of the newer films. It's the first trailer.
They're pretty bad.
Yeah.
You don't need to, sir.
But this was the first one that actually kind of perked my interest. Like, oh, that looks good. But I wrote down Eddington by Ari Aster.
Yeah.
Just because now it's gonna be a tough sell to make people revisit COVID-19 during those times and stuff. But even though I didn't respond Beau is Afraid wasn't my favorite of those films. Like whatever he's going for it. So even when things don't work, I want to see what he does. It's
gonna be bold.
Yeah, it's gonna be bold. So I'm just there for it because I know he'll take chances, and so I'm looking forward to that one.
Even if you don't like him, you could talk about him for hours.
Oh yeah,
Right,
incredible.
Yeah.
And that's like the whole. I mean, yeah, he's great.
It's beautiful. It's reasons. Movies like that are the reason this podcast exists. Not exaggeration.
Yeah. So with Beau is Afraid, after I saw it, I was a little afraid of. I don't know how many people are going to finance his movies after this one. So hopefully there's something in this mid-July release that will get people to go see it. So,
Well, I got 2 words for you, and everyone this summer is banking on these 2 words to sell their movie. Pedro Pascal.
Oh.
This dude is in so many stinking movies this summer. He's in Fantastic Four, obviously. He's in the Ari Aster movie. He's also in Freaky Tales, Materialists, and right now he's on The Last of Us, which is not a film, it's TV, but that does kind of market all these movies he's in.
It's content with him.
I don't know, he's in the upcoming Mandalorian movie.
I'm concerned for his health.
How does he do it, man? Like
he's the Nicole Kidman. He just does everything. He's on TV. He's on multiple TV shows at the same time.
A couple years ago, though, someone got a picture of him with his Starbucks order, and it was just like 7 shots of espresso with like no ice. And I'm like, oh, dude, no, like this is, but that's too much, buddy.
He did an interview about that. I thought that was hilarious. And they were like, is it true? He was like, please don't ask me the question about my coffee. He's like, I'm going to ask you because I'm really concerned about your heart.
Yeah, like
your heart, sir.
Like, I think we all need to tell him, like, you can take a break.
Yeah.
I think if he doesn't take a break after this year, I guess he's probably got an Avengers movie to film now. So,
it's not going to happen soon.
But I will say, here's the other thing. Unlike maybe Nicole Kidman, as much as I love and appreciate her, he's showing up. I think the only thing he might be phoning is that Mandalorian thing because he just has to do VO. But like, he's showing up in all this stuff and being exceptional. So I just don't know. Does he sleep? I don't know. Anyway, so the question, Laron Chapman, which Pedro Pascal movie are you most excited for?
I've seen them all. I'm
just joking. What's your most anticipated movie this year?
We're going to review it later. I'm a horror hound, so Final Destination Bloodlines, very excited for that. But maybe more than that, 28 years later.
Yes, sir.
Boom, yeah.
And then I'm a 90s baby, so I don't care what anyone says. I'm excited for I Know What You Did Last Summer because they're bringing back my OG cast. And just to ensure that I still have credibility for admitting that on this podcast, I also want to see editing. So there's a 4-way tie there between my excitement about those movies. There's a lot of indies way down the line that we'll get into, but as far as summer movies go, those are 4 that I'm looking forward to.
LeBron, what movie are you the least excited for?
To be honest, it was this one, but we'll talk about.
Okay.
We'll talk about my thoughts about it now. So.
I think that's a great selection. Laron, we're here. We're going to do the review for you. That I know what you. I still know what you did last summer, 10 years ago, whatever it's called. We're going to do. I saw Freddie Prinze Jr. in the trails. Like, I don't even care if this is trash. I love seeing my boy Freddie Prinze Jr. on the big screen. So let's go. We'll definitely be covering that. Yeah, I had 28 Weeks Later are also listed here. You're going to hear me gush on it in the Superman episode of the show we do, whether or not the movie's good. I really want a good Superman movie made in my lifetime so badly.
Please.
He's such an important cultural character that they just have not delivered a meaningful story on in my lifetime with that character. And James Gunn's showing me some stuff, and it looks a lot closer to what I think the direction we need to go, but also it could be weird. I have concerns. That said, the first trailer looks very good.
Truth, Justice, and a Better Tomorrow.
And a Better Tomorrow. Wait, we couldn't use that message at a better time. Seriously. We need it. Lex Luthor's a bad guy. The CEO, tech billionaire. Not a great dude. Seems pretty timely. I don't know. Yeah, so those 2, shouting out Mission Impossible. That one's right around the corner. So those are kind of the big 3 like blockbuster movies. I just want to rapid fire. We're not going to go down the line, but I was texting a friend. I won't name them, but they were like, I was just looking at the schedule somewhere, and I don't know. And I was like, well, I don't know, man. I think it looks like one of the best summers we've had in a while, just in terms of like consistent releases. There might not be a Barbenheimer, but like, okay, we've all just mentioned a bunch of big blockbuster movies. We've also got Bring Her Back, the follow-up to Talk to Me on May 30th, The Life of Chuck, which is Mike Flanagan doing a non-horror Stephen King movie. Hello, sign me up.
That won the audience award at TIFF.
It was a TIFF, right?
Which is usually an indicator of Best Picture nominee, but it hasn't been released.
Hadn't been released until now.
Until now. It didn't have a distributor for the longest time either. Yeah. So super excited about that. We've got Materialist, Celine Song's new movie, starring Pedro. Chris Evans is going to act again. I hope. It looks like
It has a bunch of sexy people.
And Dakota Johnson. We got the Naked Gun. I guess it's technically an IP, but the Naked Gun. That's from the Lonely Island. Akiva Goldsmith. These are comedic geniuses. And then lastly, we got Zach Kreger's follow up to Barbarian Weapons on August 8th. The first trailer for that just dropped, and it looks real good. Long way of saying, I think we're going to be eating good this summer, honestly. So I'm excited.
Jurassic Park.
That one could go either way.
That one we are waiting to. We will abstain from saying anything about it until we have viewed it. But
exactly,
we're all going to see it. It has dinosaurs.
Yes.
Okay, the one thing I'll say is that has all the ingredients for a potentially great dino movie. Great director, great cast. The story is very interesting to me. Here's the but. The big but is, I don't know if you've read how fast this movie came together, but it's really freaking quicker than you would want a movie to come together even with the best people in the business. So
they had plenty of time to make that last one, and it was terrible. So maybe move a little faster and get out of your head.
A 12-month window, 12 months to make a Jurassic Park movie. Yeah.
Oh, hey, listen, you could do that, Laron, if they gave that 12 months.
If it gave me $100 million, I will figure it out. I'll figure it out. And Ryan Belgard lives in our state, guys. So he's made a whole dinosaur franchise.
At least two, multiple dinosaur movies. With the second one, new one coming out later this year. Man, can't wait. Listeners, what is your most anticipated movie? You can let us know by hitting us up on Facebook at facebook.com/Cinematropolis or on Instagram at the Cinematrop. With that said, let's get to our spoiler-free review of Thunderbolts Asterix.
Lena, being a hero, there is no higher calling. Your sister understood something about that.
I should have come back for you.
No. That's just a fairy tale.
I was in high school when the Avengers came. Kind of strange that it's all over now. No one's coming to save the day.
I think we are. We can be the ones that are coming.
But you have the wrong people. We have all done bad things.
Look, I've been where you are. The past doesn't go away. So you can either live with it forever, or you can do something about it.
According to IMDb, bleep, is described as, after finding themselves ensnared in a death trap, an unconventional team of antiheroes must embark on a dangerous mission that will force them to confront the darkest corners of their pasts. So, Thunderbolts, or beep, is the 36th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That number's so high.
I know. Oh, no, you think that one's high? Wait until you hear this next one. Yes, that is the 36th movie in the MCU. It's the 14th movie since 2019's Avengers Endgame. We've had 14 whole movies since that huge event movie.
Laron, can you name them all real quick? Go.
No, it's a sea of monotony for me, but we'll yeah.
You know what the biggest problem with all those are, Laron? None of them are the X-Men.
That is also true. Or Blade.
Or Blade. We were supposed to have Blade by now.
How is it so hard to make a Blade movie?
Me and Laron have been asking this on the show for years.
We have been literally there's probably, our viewers are probably tired of us complaining that Blade has not come out.
They're like, Caleb, shut up about the X-Men, and Laron's shut up about Blade.
2-time Oscar winner. Like, come on. Like, we got it. We got all the ingredients are here. It's the perfect casting. I literally said, we don't need a Blade movie. And then they said, Mahershala Ali. I was like, okay, well, you got me.
You just put on a rave, and you just have it slice through vampires for 2 straight hours.
Lots of sunglasses.
And say cool stuff.
We just got an original vampire movie 2 weekends ago. So, like, I mean, it can be done, guys.
My favorite, I saw a meme that was really funny on the internet. For the folks who watch The Boys, it was a meme of Homelander sitting in the theater looking dead on the inside. And all it said was, this is Kevin Feige watching Sinners, realizing he could have had Coogler direct Blade.
Bro, I'm just saying.
It's right there. I know he's got Black Panther, but also Blade, you know. So this film, Thunderbolts, the one we're talking about today, is directed by Jake Schreier. Jake Schreier, best known for the TV show Beef on Netflix, if you haven't watched that fantastic show. He's also done a lot of other indie films, most notably Paper Towns, which is that green novel from several years back. And I don't usually call it the writers, but I found it to be a very interesting mix, so I want to note them, especially since they are marketing this movie around the creatives involved. Writer number 1, Eric Pearson. This one's not going to surprise you. He's most famous for Thor Ragnarok and Godzilla v. Kong. This next one, though, Joanna Callow. showrunner of The Bear, a producer on BoJack Horseman, and writer on Hacks. Okay.
Also a really good HBO show. If you're not watching it, we're on season 4. Really easy breezy. Really
Gene
fun.
Smart.
Great so show.
I need to catch up on Hacks. I will say The Bear.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss, no pun intended. Best, fantastic show. And some dude who writes comics, Kirk Busiek.
Kurt Busiek.
Busiek, is that? And Alex is like, did you just say some guy?
Some dude? Oh my gosh, you made me so mad.
That guy is listening. You know, he is the only guy listening.
I'm sorry.
He might be.
I'm sorry, Kurt. I didn't mean to. I'm glad you finally got to break into Hollywood. It's great. Let's see. I'm going to go down the line so this film brings together, if you're not paying close attention, you wouldn't realize it, but this actually brings together a ton of characters that have been introduced to us in other films. First up, the film stars Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova, I'm saying that wrong, previously introduced in Black Widow. Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes, we all know him, he's a Marvel staple, MCU staple at this point. Wyatt Russell as John Walker, previously introduced in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It was not a very good show. He was a great casting choice. What can I say? David Harbour as the Red Guardian, also introduced in Black Widow. Hannah John Carmen as Ava Starr, Ghost. This one I totally forgot about until Alex said something to me. Actually introduced in Ant-Man and the Wasp. No, not the last Ant-Man, 2 Ant-Mans ago. Lewis Pullman as Bob Reynolds. That is right. That is Bill's kid. Yeah, Bill Pullman. Yeah. And Julia Louise-Dreyfus as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. Also introduced in Black Widow. And she's sort of been like...
And in Falcon and Winter Soldier, too.
Well, she's basically been like sort of like the...
evil Nick Fury.
Nick Fury.
There's a duh before.
Duh, you're right. DeFontaine.
DeFontaine.
This film had an estimated budget of $180 million, and it opened number 1 at the U.S. box office on opening weekend with an $76 million grosser domestically. And guys, I don't know about you. I'm still a little bitter about the Sinners headline, seeing as Sinners has been like the runaway success story, and the headlines for that first one was it only made back half its budget. Is it a success? Well, I'm looking here and it looks like Thunderbolts didn't make half its budget back. So what were those headlines? Okay, anyway, what do we think about Thunderbolts, the latest film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Laron Chapman, bring us home here.
Man, okay. So I have to preface this, and I know, like I'm constantly on the. I'm fatigued with Marvel post Endgame camp. I'm like kind of fixated in that space. I was really pleasantly surprised by this. Honestly, I was surprised how grounded it was, how introspective it was, and how much it was so kind of razor focused on the kind of more subtle character drama than it was about this larger, action spectacle of sorts. There's not this like existential, the world is, you know what I mean? Kind of like there's this looming thing that's happening. It's more internal. I found that very refreshing and more relatable for a superhero movie. Wasn't expecting them to be that, to kind of mine those kinds of feelings and emotions in a film like this. So, and that they actually sat there and sat with dramatic beats longer than you would anticipate on a film like this. They normally just like, okay, someone's crying, we move over to this little crash bang boom thing that's happening over here. We actually care about these people going into it, and I thought that was probably what has been missing, from a lot of these films, and because I think about the ones that I like from the early phases of this, and I think about, it was because I really fell in love with the characters before they became the big thing or had these other grand, ambitions. And so it was nice to have kind of a deeper, emphasis on the human condition, and mental health. This comes up a lot in this, and I found that to be surprisingly moving in a way that I wouldn't have expected from the 36th MCU film.
Right.
So,
certainly a franchise that's not exactly known for its introspection, right? In terms of its characters. Nathan, what did you think of Thunderbolts?
Yeah. So when Caleb asked me to do this podcast, I got a little nervous because I haven't been a connoisseur of all the MCU universe. I was a little flattered when you lumped us all in as millennials because I don't think I'm quite. I think you guys are a little bit younger than me. So
millennial at heart. Come on.
How old are you?
I'm 43.
No, if you're around the age of Zuckerberg, I feel like you get
Okay, I'll take that. But so my firstborn was born around the time the first Avengers movie came out. So I've kind of been in and out. You kind of take and so caught some of the TV shows. Not all of the films. And so going into this, I was actually pleasantly surprised that a lot of the characters I had actually seen before. So that was a good thing. But I really think I'm kind of like the mid-tier audience, for a little bit more in tune than most people. But some of the characters that maybe we could talk about, like I didn't recognize at all. But I really enjoyed the film. I was very surprised. I will say at the beginning, I felt a little... I thought it was good, but I was like, oh, this kind of feels like some of the TV shows.
The first act, I felt like, here we go again.
Yeah. But then it does flip, and I think everybody agrees probably when it does kind of flip. And I was completely invested, loved the depths that it took. And if anything, if its goal was to get me excited about the next phase, the next movies coming out, it certainly did that for me, because I enjoyed my time. And I've actually, not even intentionally so, have told people who even my wife hasn't watched the MCU films, but I was like, you would like this movie. And I think mainly because of the characters and that emotional depth that it's willing to go to.
I think that's a great point, because frankly, I think most of the films since Endgame, I wouldn't recommend to someone who hasn't seen all of them, just because, for a variety of reasons, but it's just because there's such required viewing or knowledge of the characters that you have to even get anything out of.
But Caleb, you don't need that for Eternals.
You're right. Eternals.
Full recommendation for Eternals from Caleb Masters.
At least it was taking swings. That's all I'll give it. And it did bring sex to the MCU. It did something.
So hot and heavy.
You guys,
it's like a Gaspar Noé film.
You guys think about how that post-credit stinger from that movie hasn't paid off yet. Anyway, different conversation. But yeah, I think you raised a good point, though. Thunderbolts definitely feels like, despite there actually being tons of low-key setup through a lot of movies, I don't know that you would actually need them to fully understand the character dynamics at play here. Probably the one I was actually using you as a bit of a barometer for that, because I know you actually haven't seen a lot of the stuff.
Oh yeah,
because you have to watch a lot of the TV shows,
a lot of television shows, and a lot. And I essentially see all the movies. Most of the times reluctantly, but then I keep giving it a chance. Each one I give a chance, and then I'm like, okay, this one's not terrible. This one's and like
sounds like an abusive relationship.
It is. It feels kind of toxic. I have a toxic relationship with it. I mean, but he keeps on luring me back in every now and then. Like I said, we're getting X-Men, so I'm like, we just broke up. It's like, okay, I guess I'll come back. So yeah.
But I mean, I bring that to the point though. Like this, do you think, Laron, this also to you feels like I could watch this without having to have some sort of
absolutely, yeah. There's definitely things I'm sure I'm missing, contextually, but I feel like it didn't matter because, and I say this all the time, I shouldn't have to see all these movies for it to be its own self-contained good movie. And that's what I liked about this movie, was that even with little details that I might not be privy to or have since forgotten, I was invested in the story that was being told in front of me. Mm-hmm. And that is necessary. I feel like every movie should stand on its own terms. I shouldn't just like this or just watch this so that I understand the next movie, but I never want to return to this one. You know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of was my barometer for actually. I actually enjoy this as is. I would rewatch this for these people. So
that's great. Yeah, I'm glad that Nathan, you brought that up, and Laron was able to verify that you felt that way too.
Yeah.
Alex Palmer, now you have probably seen all of this stuff and you know these characters intimately from the comics. What did you think of Thunderbolts?
I've watched everything and I've read everything,
including Secret Invasion.
How did they do? Okay, I just want to know.
I think they did a fantastic job. This is not the Thunderbolts, but we'll get into that later when we do the comic talk. I really had a good time. I think you're right. The first act's a little slow. It kind of felt like we were coming into the clunkiness we've seen before. But I think once Bob shows up, I think the movie, it figures itself out. When the characters get trapped in the room, the movie figures out what it's doing.
Yeah.
Everybody had great chemistry with one another. The banter was good. I thought the action was good and spread out. I think when you think about the movie, you don't think about the action, but there's quite a bit in it.
It's practical.
And it's all pretty practical. I think Florence Pugh is just a movie star.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, you take out her and put in somebody lesser, this movie might not work at all.
Right.
It's true.
She really sells the emotionality of the movie.
While still being funny and charismatic at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah.
She really does a great job. But I think this got me hopeful because in a team up movie, like when you team up superheroes, it's not about them all fighting together or fighting each other. You want to see how they interact with one another. You want to see what those conversations are. And that's kind of like a funny part of like a lot of the first Avengers films is you just want to see what these characters, like you want to see how Tony is going to get along with Steve Rogers, and so I like all of the kind of butting of the heads and things like that. I just thought it really worked well. I thought how they handled the ending without it being a big fight, I thought was a really good idea.
Yeah.
I think much more of an emotional fight at the end, which I
it
think
felt
is
subversive that there wasn't this giant third act thing. It was just kind of
yeah. But still, there was a ton of fighting in it. Like, I mean, listen, you got Bucky on a motorcycle with a shotgun. Like, I mean, you can't.
That scene was really cool.
It was very
Again,
cool.
it was it wasn't like CG slop. It was like I think they actually flipped the Jeep.
It totally reminded me of Terminator 2.
Yeah. I think they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, for sure.
This might be the most badass Bucky's looked in a while. I have to say.
I was waiting for the war rigs to pop up behind him, like
Mad Max. Yeah.
No, exactly. I think they found the success that Marvel had in the past, especially their team ups, was really good balance. Like we think about like one of the best ones, which is Captain America: Civil War. That has a ton of characters in it, but it did feel balanced. It didn't feel clunky or unwieldy at times, and this also I think felt like that. I think each character, Ghost kind of gets forgotten a little bit, but I mean she's kind of like the back character of everything, anyways. But I think she still got fun moments and she has cool powers. So I don't know. I think they did a really good job. I really like, and I can't remember the young actress's name who is Valentina's assistant.
Oh yeah. She's good.
She's been in a bunch of things.
Yeah.
she was in that.
She was in Blockers and a bunch of other.
I saw her just recently. You're
comedy?
cordially invited.
Oh,
yeah.
There was a comedy Ethan Cohen did, Drive-Away Dolls or something.
She is in that. She's good. Yeah.
But she's really good. I know that she, because of delay in filming, that was supposed to be Io Debris from The Bear.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but I think, but I was like, oh man, because I love her. But I think she did a fantastic job. Seeing Wendell Pierce in anything makes me happy.
Yeah.
I love that Wendell Pierce shows up in what could have been, in typical Wendell Pierce fashion, what would be a throwaway role in any other movie. He shows up and just, you're like,
Comedic
it's so funny. I want to watch more of him every time.
So no, I think I had a really good time. So I'll kind of get into my comic book stuff a little bit here. Famously in the Thunderbolts, they were led by a character initially named Citizen V. And people find out like afterwards, because this guy in a mask, it's Zemo. And so I had a big anticipation that Taskmaster was not going to be the character from Black Widow. It was going to be Zemo. And so the fact that they kind of, that character kind of just disappears from the movie.
Real quick, Zemo, as in Danny Brule from Civil War and a bunch of other projects, a character we've met before.
Yeah, and so I kind of had a little bit.
I was kind of spiraling.
Yeah, so I had a little bit of anticipation, but because like that character kind of goes away, I didn't have to worry about that anymore. And so because I think one of the big issues that Marvel's had is they have built anticipation and not delivered.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
I think so. Yeah,
and that kind of made me sit back, going, I think they knew there was a slight anticipation there, and they made sure to like eliminate it so I can enjoy it and not be waiting for something that doesn't come to fruition. Because the reason why all the stuff they did before was so good was because there was all these little tidbits of things that made you excited. I mean, seeing Thanos at the end of Avengers, like all of us were talking about it. Then in one of the after credits, when someone says Infinity Stone, we're all like, oh, we all know we know where we're going. There's all these little things that let you know where they're going, and so it seems like they are starting to get on that path.
Yeah, I mean, because frankly, I made the joke earlier about the post-credit scene from the Eternals, but frankly, like I don't think there's been a single impactful post-credit scene in an MCU film for a really long time.
They're just comedic.
Were you not
things.
ready for Star Fox to show up?
I was.
With his weird seduction powers.
Do you remember the dude, the guy from Ted Lasso in the Thor: Love and Thunder post credits?
He was Hercules.
Hercules. When's he showing up? You know what I mean? Like, it's just like there's been. Whereas, as you pointed out, those little breadcrumbs in the first 3 phases were like, oh, we're all building to something. It just felt like they've been throwing all this stuff at us. We're all like, okay, so when's the cool thing going to happen? And we've been saying it for like, what, 3-4 years now? When's the cool thing going to happen? And it seems like this film does not put an emphasis on that in the same way.
Mm-hmm. It seems like they have, like, it. To be honest, it just felt like they didn't have control of the universe after, after Endgame, which it makes sense because not only do you have like COVID, you had all the strikes.
Yeah.
You
also
also
so much
had
stitch work that had to be done, not just externally and internally.
Well, and then they had the mandate because of COVID, the mandate from Disney at the time to do the TV shows.
And then they're like, oh, by the way, we bought Fantastic Four and X-Men, so you better integrate those too. So they haven't, like, it's been unwieldy for a minute, but it just feels like Kevin's getting his arms around it again.
Yeah, they managed to bring things together in a way that I am looking forward to what's coming next, which I haven't said in a long time.
In a weird way, it's like the pared downness of it.
Yes,
is one of the strengths of this.
100%.
Because we're invested in the small scale things, and then now they can build upon this foundation in a way, like I said, like we'll get into the titles and everything.
Well, because I care about this group of characters, where they leave things in the credit stinger, I'm like, oh, well, I'm really curious about to see what they're going to do in the next one.
Yeah,
basically,
for sure,
or what role they're going to play. And we know for a fact, thanks to casting announcements, they are definitely going to be in the next Avengers movie. So you're like, so what? Now that I care about these people, what are they going to do in that movie alongside the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and all these other people? It's because they pared down, because they focused on characters. I'm now like, I can't wait to see what their next chapter is going to be.
Yeah,
it's all about the characters. You got to care about them.
Yeah.
And
that's any movie, guys.
Any movie.
But really, when you're doing these big, like buff macho things, like the best action films, you really do care about the characters. It's not just about the action.
If you don't care who's driving behind the car that's running, then it doesn't. Then it's just noise.
Yeah.
So I say that in horror movies too. They could be terrible movies, but if the characters you like them, you'll watch them in terrible situations.
Exactly.
You guys have really said it all, so I don't want to repeat too much of what's been said between the characters, and the cast, which I think are really outstanding. I think the direction here is confident and controlled, which is again a thing. There's been so many of these Marvel movies where you watch it and you just feel like, there's the director's just cashing a paycheck or has no control over the material. It's just, we're here to push IP in your face. Whereas I feel there's a lot of choices. The practical effects, the practical stunts feels like a conscious choice. Yeah. There's some stuff I won't spoil in the last third of the film that you're like, that's really weird. I love that they got really weird with it. And I'm pretty sure it's because the writers, directors were like, let's do this weird thing. And yeah, you've already sort of said it, but this really addressed a lot of my criticism about the MCU, specifically Act 3 problems that I've had even before Endgame. I was like, we've got to punch this threat in the face. Go back to, I think the first time I ever said it on a podcast.
We got to stop the MacGuffin from getting to the place.
Right. Well, exactly. I think the first time I said it's not actually a Marvel movie, but it was a problem that was prevalent in Marvel films that it really just, like, so Wonder Woman 2017, but like my whole thing was, you have a really cool idea here. So in that movie, it's like war is not actually a manifestation. It is ingrained into human nature in some form.
Now how do we combat David Thewlis?
Yeah, now you get a punch in the face. But like, or another example could be Captain America: Winter Soldier. I think it's done pretty well there, but at the same time, it's still like, oh my gosh, this like crazy Hydra Nazi ideology infiltrates the highest levels of government. Hello, it's not a documentary. And we got to punch it. That's how we're going to be. We're just going to punch it in the face. And it's like, it doesn't. It's a problem I've had with a lot of the movies, especially when they're wrestling with really compelling themes. It's like, well, we got to boil that down to like a bad guy you can fight at the end. And this movie's like, no. We're going to make the bad guy, the theme, and the narrative all one thing. And because of that, and by doing that, you can't beat it by punching it. Mm-hmm. And that for me really created Initially when I walked away from this movie, I liked it, didn't love it, but that has really been sticking with me, just about like how they're really exploring themes of trauma and loneliness and depression. We'll get more into it in spoilers in some fairly nuanced ways. Again, as Laron said, in more nuanced ways than you expect to see in a Marvel film. So anyway, not to repeat too much of what's been said, but I think this movie, in terms of creatively, has re-energized Marvel in a way that I didn't think was possible, especially since you'd asked me even 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Caleb, Thunderbolts. I'm like, I don't care.
I don't care.
I'm going to see it because I have to, but I don't care. Wow, they really pulled the rug out for me.
They made me care a little bit. A little bit.
Surprising.
A little bit.
You're learning to love again.
Listen, and also I watched some really bad TV shows that I regret watching.
What? Secret Invasion wasn't good?
Oh gosh, no. Falcon and the Winter Soldier is pretty bad, but it pays off here. And I'm not saying that justifies watching the shows. Don't go back and watch the shows. Seriously, you don't, and you don't need to. They're very bad, but.
Just watch the scene where the Dora Milaje beat up John Walker, because that actually is great.
John Walker's great.
When he gets beat up by a bunch of Wakandans, I can watch that over and over again.
Yeah, we've name dropped most of the cast, but we haven't name dropped Wyatt Russell yet. Great casting choice.
Loved him. Russell.
He's great. He's such a perfect casting choice for this character. And again, I won't go too into the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show, but the short version is in that show they're trying to set him up to be the next Captain America. So he's trying to be all noble and good. By this movie, they're like, no, he's just an asshole. Yeah, and he's embracing it. And I'm like, okay, it's more fun. Yeah.
And that's literally straight from the comics. Nobody likes him in the comics. Nobody likes John Walker. Everyone thinks he's a jerk, and they've really kind of kept that character like he is. Like a good guy. He's not like a villain, but like nobody likes working with him.
Yeah.
Right. But I liked how they built his character. He's unapologetic, but also you see the skill set of why he was even in the mix from the get-go.
What he's doing.
Yeah. And there's often times where, they might have should have listened to him, but I liked him a lot.
Frank Castle look like a fun-loving guy.
That's the Punisher for those name check.
They know.
Well, I mean, I guess we've already hit on a lot of these things, but I mean, overall, like, how do you feel like this stacks up against the rest of the MCU? I saw out a 2-part question. I was thinking initially compared to post Endgame, but even going back to pre Endgame, like how does this, where does this kind of like line up for you in terms of the tiers of Marvel movies? I'll throw it to you first, Alex.
It's one of the best post Endgame. By far. But I think post Endgame, there's very few that I think Spider-Man No Way Home, I think is still the best.
Yeah.
But this is definitely better than Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness. So I would put it up there. Overall, I mean, I think it's it's not S tier. It's low A tier, or it's probably like upper B tier. I'd honestly say, but it's one of the better movies. It's in the top half definitely, and probably even stronger than that. I need to have tiles of all the movies out to rank them.
Rank every one from 1 to 36.
Okay.
No, don't do it.
He started, guys. He started doing it. He's wrapped up now.
So you're thinking like upper B tier.
I think so. Like upper B tier, lower A tier, yeah.
Okay. Now, Nathan, I know it sounds like you haven't seen all of them, but just in terms of what you have seen from Marvel, like how does this sort of stack up?
Yeah. I would do it at the same level as you. Like, I thought it was better than I expected. I definitely haven't seen these newer movies, and honestly, ironically, it's probably the television shows that have been the reason for that. Because I did watch Falcon. Wait, what was it?
Yeah, Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I did see that one, and
bad.
then I definitely felt like it belonged. It felt big. It felt hefty. But because there was more thought behind it, I felt like it kind of elevated it a little bit more. I kind of wonder if the positive experience is graded on a curve a little bit with everybody because the expectations were so low.
That's true.
Yeah,
low expectations.
But once again, like I said, like even I was talking to my mother-in-law, and there was something with the characters that she was like, "I want to see that," and I do think it would be almost kind of. Not that you could completely scrap everything that's happened before, but I do think it's a good starting point to be like, hey, we all just want to take a deep breath and start fresh. I think you could have done a lot worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of like you've been arguing with your significant other, then like they made you like a really nice meal, and you're like, okay, well maybe we're cool.
I'll give it 6 more months. I'm giving it 6 more months.
months.
We'll try again. She says it's just nice long enough. No, I'm kidding.
Laron Chapman, how would you match this up against your dating life?
My day. Wait, whoa! Threw me for a curve.
We're talking about being a partner. Okay, all right.
Oh man, you're not ready for that conversation. Laron's
taken and happily married. Thank you.
Yes, yeah. No, I feel like it's. I feel like this is a palate cleanser in many ways.
The sorbet of Marvel.
If it has if it has felt clunky and just kind of, I don't know, oversaturated and what have you, this is a nice, like, again, I keep saying, very pared down, like, reset. Where, like, if you're tired of this franchise, if you're tired of this universe, I understand that. I get that. I've shared those feelings for years, but this does provide a kind of like a new way forward. I don't know if it's gonna follow through, and that the other movies, after this are gonna be as good or better. But, like, at least I have a morsel of curiosity back again that I have not had for a while. I'd say even longer than the 4 or 5 years that we've been talking about it. But I just feel like it's just nice to see that that there is still an ability to surprise and an ability to do something with these type of characters that, for many reasons, I think, as I've been kind of contemplating, like, what it is about these movies that isn't clicking with me anymore. I don't want to say it's just like I'm too cool for it. Like, that's not what it is. Or I'm too,
You're pretty cool, though.
I'm pretty cool. Thanks, though. But I feel like more so for me, the aesthetic in general.
Yeah.
It's just like with Pixar. We loved them for so long, but now when they come out, I'm like, if the story doesn't intrigue me, I'm not excited anymore. You know what I mean? Because they have a template that they use, an aesthetic that has worked and proven and tried and true. So I understand why they keep doing it, to go into that same well, but you get bored eating the same meal all the time.
Yep.
So,
which is why things like again, the Spider-Verse movies really broke through, because it's like, whoa, this is animation
really nice.
that's way different.
It feels invigorating because it's a different animation style. You're not looking at the same the same type of animation, the same visual effects. It's the reason why these movies don't get Oscar nominations, because it's like, it looks like the last 5-6 movies that they made. There's nothing unique about it. So when you get like an aesthetic that kind of, and there's, like I said, I think for me, it's just more so that there wasn't just so much noise around it. I was able to just focus on the, these little subtle, well executed practical action set pieces, paired with actual character. Like, there's not plotting in between where I don't care, like, get to the next thing. I'm actually invested in the journey here. And that's I think that's just been missing for a while. So I'd also put it in the upper B territory. I don't think it's like exemplary, like one of the best in all of these movies that have been made. But I do think it's not.
It's not Winter Soldier, but
it's one of the best that has been made in a long while. I'd say so.
No, I think you mentioned something about the aesthetic. I think the lighting in this is a little different than other movies.
It looks that's the thing. There actually is a creative choice about it. It's kind of, it's still kind of grayer and a little like, but like it matches the aesthetic of the themes, which is, this is a darker crew. They're all kind of sad,
dark emotions.
Yeah,
so it works.
It works.
It makes sense.
Yeah. I would echo. I think upper B tier. Laron, I've been really picking at this for a while too. What is it about the MCU that just has kept me from like really getting excited if it doesn't have X-Men or related things in it? And aesthetics a big one. So when we see something a movie like this do something even remotely bold, it feels like a big win. And
even the Fantastic Four coming out has a totally different
aesthetic,
which has me intrigued specifically because it has that 60s it has that grainy texture,
that futurism.
That looks different. It doesn't look like the same blank slate template. So it's like, that's intriguing to me, at least on a visual level.
Well, and again, the other thing you said was, this is the first one in a while where I feel like I showed up, or what I got was actual character focus versus a commercial for the next movie. And don't get me wrong, it is definitely clearly a commercial for the next movie. But I was just thinking through all the other phase 4 or 5
but none
movies.
of the cynicism. It's like, it actually,
you want to know why No Way Home it clicks so well? It's because it actually focuses on Spider-Man, and not even just Tom Holland, just our relationship as an audience with the character on film in a lot of ways. So
that movie made me cry.
Oh yeah, it's got some great moments. But long way of saying, I think upper B tier. I think this is definitely probably top 3 post Endgame, I would say. Definitely put it above Thor: The Dark World pre Endgame. Let's get the letter grade, shall we? I'll throw one out first, just to kind of like lay it out there. Initially I was going to give this like a CC plus, but I will say, because I know we were talking, me and Alex from the same screen, and talked after the movie, and I was like, I like this. I don't know if I love it, But I have really been chewing on this over the weekend, and when was the last time I chewed on a Marvel movie? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the things that work really are the things that stick out versus, that first act feels very formulaic and it sticks out. Yeah, Bucky is a congressman. That's real dumb, and I don't think it makes any sense at all. There's little things like that. But what sticks out to me is, man, these characters were so funny, or man, Florence Pugh is a freaking movie star, or man, that post-credit singer, I actually am excited, ? For the next movie. Those are the things that and then lastly, like, wow, they really, really dug into the psyche in a way that I haven't seen, you don't see very often, like a Christopher Nolan Batman movie style, to a certain extent. So that sticks out to me. So that's why I'm going to go with a B. Solid B. I think it's very good. I would recommend people go see it in the theater. First time in a while, I would say that. Nathan, I'll throw it to you.
All right. A little slightly higher than you. I gave it a B+. Just maybe not being as emotionally tied to MCU as a whole, but I really appreciated the artistic choices that were made towards the end and just the creative vision. And for that, and as you mentioned, I thought the casting was fantastic with everyone. I always have been a big fan of Florence Pugh, and just and it's kind of funny, a lot of these characters, I was thinking as you all were talking, it's just funny, we've all become a little bit more familiar with them. They've all grown in stature, certainly David Harbour and and stuff like that. And then so I think their characters are real fitting almost as where they are as actors. Lewis Pullman, like for sure, and stuff like that. And so I just liked the journey it took me on. I liked that it took these choices, and also, I mean, this movie could have been extremely corny with the issues that it...
And the marketing made me think it was going to be.
Yeah.
No pun intended given the cereal box, but
Yeah.
And then they kind of bring it all in.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It's a brand deal. They got money for that.
But we've kind of alluded to that, the ending is not this like punch, all these punches and stuff. And the fact the way it kind of resolves the way it does, I know it would have been really hard if I were in the director's shoes to pull that off, and somehow they did without it being sappy. And and so I kind of definitely enjoyed it for what it was. Yeah.
B+. We got a B. We got a B+. Alex Palmer, what is your letter grade?
I'm at a B+ as well. Like
Okay.
I as I was kind of talking about, it doesn't go into like the top tier, I think, of Marvel films, but I think it's a really good movie. I think you can recommend it. I think, you don't need a ton of MCU knowledge to enjoy it.
And there's enough like light exposition, enough to like...
just enough.
Not like hitting you over the head, but enough to like characters say something like, oh yeah, okay.
There's this thing where it reintroduces the characters in a way that if you haven't seen them before, you're like,
without a flashback sequence.
Yeah, exactly. I get where you're
at.
at. And if you know, oh, we're going to make a joke about Diet Captain America. Oh, that's for a reference to that show, but you don't have to have seen that for the character to work.
Yeah.
No, it didn't need like a long scroll before it started. I think some of these movies, sometimes you need a long scroll. But this one you didn't. But I was very happy with it. I was bouncing coming out of the theater. You were still
I've warmed up though. I seriously have, because I wasn't down on it, but I was like, well, I like that last act, but I don't know.
You were guarding your heart. I get it.
I was, and then I realized, who the hell am I kidding? I'm pretty excited about the next movie.
Yeah.
Laron Chapman, probably the toughest MCU critic on this show.
I am, and I feel like this is. So I feel like by saying that I should be giving this a B+. I'm right there, kind of with like a B. I'm probably going 85% on this. I don't know what that constitutes.
It's a B down the middle.
That's a B down the middle, a strong B,
not a B-,
strong B, like a bold B. You know what I mean?
Like a B movie.
A B.
A Seinfeld B
It's a
movie.
B, but it's uppercase.
It's uppercase B.
A Sharpie versus a pen.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we got the Sharpie B.
Exactly. And I could warm up to it if I see this again and still have a strong reaction to it. But I did. I even recommended this to Craig. He had zero interest as well. And I was just kind of like, I said, I saw 2 movies this weekend and one of them was good. And he was like, well, I know which one it wasn't. And I was like, no, you don't.
Oh,
no, you
snap.
don't. No, you don't. Fun. And I was like, and so I went on a little, gave him my little mini, download right after it. He was like, you really like this movie. You won't shut up about Thunderbolts. I'm like, I know, it's weird, right? It's like,
I can't believe I'm doing this.
So I think it's just the surprise. It just constantly kind of kept surprising me. We mentioned the third act. We mentioned like every step of the way. I was like, wow, I'm surprised how pulled into this I am, and there's not like just huge, like I said, huge world stakes happening yet, but it still feels personal enough that I care what happens to these people or what's going to happen next for these people. And the fact that they humanized all these people in ways, some of them were really annoying at first, like when we first meet them. And then I was like, you know what? I like this dynamic actually. And they've, kind of like the relatives that you have where you're like, he has some quirks about him that I don't like. But, if you sit with him for a minute, he's actually a pretty cool guy. You know what I mean? Like, so it kind of has that vibe, so.
Yeah, I think that's well said. So we're all in favor of this movie. B and B plus. You mentioned David Harbour. We didn't even mention him. Great comedic relief, by the way.
Love Red Guardian.
This movie is dealing with some heavier stuff, and I feel like
that first stinger is actually funny.
It is very funny.
And I thought, I probably wouldn't have felt that way if I didn't like the movie.
And that's a character that could easily be super grating in the wrong hands. And I think they nail it.
They got the right actor for it.
And there's even a scene. There's a scene between him and Florence that's really poignant. I felt like that's one of those moments where I was like, wow, I didn't think I could ever take him seriously. But here's a moment where I'm like, oh, this little daughter son moment. I'm a daughter, you know what I'm saying. Father, daughter, son. Yes. You know what I mean? Pronouns, whatever. It's like, no. But yeah, I thought that was a sweet moment between Florence and
they get a good one. Yeah.
So
I'm also still laughing about his reintroduction where he's just sitting in his Florence Pugh's trying to get to the apartment and she's ringing the doorbell and he says, "Go back! I tell DoorDash corporate I don't want delivery."
Yes,
yeah, just very funny. All right, well, what else would we recommend people watch, play, read, listen to if they enjoy Thunderbolts? I'll throw it to you first, Nathan.
Oh, put me on this spot. What came to mind, and I haven't watched. I've heard a lot about The Boys on Prime Video, but to me, like this movie kind of emulates maybe some of that. But I thought of, I wrote down the Suicide Squad, James Gunn's kind of, was it a reimagining of the first Suicide Squad?
Unclear.
Yeah.
What is clear? It's a good movie, unlike the first one.
Yeah, right. So, and I didn't see the first one, so I just
wow, you are a lucky man.
Yeah, seriously.
No, truly, because you would have saw that and you would have like, I have no faith in this next one, and then it surprisingly was good.
So this movie goes a little deeper than that one does, or even the television show Peacemaker, right?
Yeah, also a great show.
Yeah, but that's kind of what it reminded me of, is kind of this band of unlikely heroes coming together.
Yeah. It definitely has a lot of the Suicide Squad from James Gunn 2021, not to be confused with Suicide Squad 2016.
Yeah.
Wow. But
and they spend a lot of time not fixating on them being super anything.
Yeah.
There's a lot of conversation about not feeling worthy of the title or worthy of that kind of, that responsibility. And that was refreshing too, where there's not this dun da da da. It's a lot of like,
I felt like I definitely related to Florence Pugh in this movie because she's essentially dealing with burnout at the beginning. And I don't know, I'm sure all of us have at some point in our careers been like, I don't even know how to get motivated to get out of bed to go do this job, but I also need to do it to live. How soon can I get out reasonably? Very relatable.
Yeah, for sure.
So taking the super out of the superhero. Alex Palmer, what would you recommend?
Well, I mean, the original run of Thunderbolts in Marvel Comics is spectacular. It's from 1996. And I will say that Thunderbolts does take a lot from the Suicide Squad. It is villains, kind of like being put together on a team to do good stuff. The thing that makes the Thunderbolts different than the Suicide Squad in DC Comics, they all have a bomb in their head. They're all villains, and they have to do this or they'll die. The cool thing about like the Thunderbolts was that it had a lot of like B tier, or super C, B tier villains. D tier, really. They were put on this team, kind of like given an offer, and they all start liking being a hero. They all start to realize like this is actually a good way to exist, essentially, with their powers, and so it made some of them become heroes. And so I think that's what kind of makes it a little differently. And I think they kind of established that in that these are kind of broken people and they're kind of jerks, but they're like, actually, we can do some good. And like, that's what's the point of having all these skills if you're not doing some good with it? And so I think if you like this, I think read that run. They debuted in Hulk, but the team really worked out well. And so I would say watch that. If you like a movie about people coming together to deal with mental health issues, there's a great film. It really hits on them great called Sucker Punch.
Oh, no.
I'm just kidding. That movie is the worst movie ever made.
Sucker Punch in my gut. That was terrible. I was so let down by that movie.
Oh, yeah. I think we all were. But yeah, no, I think check that out. The later runs of Thunderbolts, they kind of make them a little more edgier. They're led by Red Hulk. But yeah, I think check that. If you like that, you'll like that initial run.
I was a little surprised. I guess this is like a slight spoiler about what they didn't do. Given the name and given that we just saw Harrison Ford as Thunderbolt, the Red Hulk in the last movie, I kind of thought they were going to like at least make a nod to that, and they didn't. Not a big deal. I was just surprised.
Harrison Ford always signed up for one movie. That's why.
He got the cherry blossoms. He's good. Laron Chapman, what would you recommend?
I'm going to recommend something that's not technically a superhero movie, at least not for sure, not affiliated with MCU, but Chronicle came to mind. Michael B. Jordan's first feature film for those MBJ film fans. But
directed by Josh Trank, who went on to direct the Fantastic Four. No, not that Fantastic Four.
Not that one. The one we want to forget about. Both of them, I think. But I feel like Chronicle is a good an example where it's like kind of lo-fi, and it's like just a band of characters dealing with a weird situation, but we get really invested in their psyches, and we get invested in, is it Dane DeHaan's? He becomes the ultimate villain in that, but he's a character that we see is very tortured at home by his father, and just a lot of emotional, psychological abuse, and that manifests into something dark, which reminds me a lot of the villain in this movie. So I saw a lot of parallels there where we cared about seeing that character's turn, you know what I mean, in a big way. So that's one that I'd recommend. And then I mention X-Men all the time, but I think anything with Magneto in it, I feel like his narrative is very similar. It's a character we feel bad for, but we also agree with in some ways, not all his methods, but we agree with what he's trying to do.
I mean, if you watch the show X-Men 97, it actually makes a great case for why Magneto's been right the whole time, but different podcast.
So anything with Magneto in it, and I'd say Chronicle would be an example.
Oh my gosh, Magneto's right the whole time. I hope you don't get a hold of the Phoenix Force. Dear Lord.
I'm just saying, what...
We need a Magneto right now. We have a Thanos right now.
Yeah, right.
We need a Charles Xavier.
On that note, I'm just going to throw out X-Men.
We had him. His name was Obama. It wasn't Joe Biden.
Oh gosh, always the X-Men. X-Men 97. Since I'm dropping that, it's a great show. And Magneto. Sometimes he's got a point. Maybe when he tries to not follow his instinct and do what he does, he's proven wrong, which makes you think, does that mean he's right? Anyway, great show. Check it out.
Terrible father.
Awful father. Terrible.
Yeah.
What I would say, X-Men 97, best superhero media I've watched
since Far From Home.
Yeah. Oh, easily since Far From Home. I was going to go as far as the last 10 years, including Endgame, because it's really good.
And I would say this, that I think people forget this with the superhero media. Invincible is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. I love Invincible. Season 2 is a little...
sad.
Not the best. Slow. But season 1 and 3, very good.
Lots of punching.
Yeah, you mentioned The Boys, Nathan. I hadn't thought about that. That one is way more cynical, but also I do think is really good if you're looking at like dark superheroes as a concept. That one leans a lot more to like satire, which this movie's not quite going there, but I do think The Boys is a increasingly relevant watch for reasons I'm not thrilled about, but we'll get there. I was going to recommend something a little lighter though. I was going to say another superhero team up featuring some of the greatest comedic talent in the history of 90s Hollywood. I'm talking, of course, about 2000s Mystery Men.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Who was your favorite? The Sphinx, the Shoveler, Invisible Boy?
The Invisible Boy is pretty funny. I also quite like the Ben Stiller character. I just get really angry. That movie's a treat.
The Blue Raja.
Underrated movie, man.
Okay, Blue Raja probably... It's a good thing they poke fun at how racist it is in the movie, because definitely wouldn't fly today.
Oh, no. Yeah. What's his name? Dane Cook as the waffler.
Jeez.
I know. I've watched this movie recently.
An
and
underrated movie. Underrated.
It was ahead of its time. I'm being honest. I really think it was ahead of its
Smash
time.
Mouth.
Yeah. Oh, Smash Mouth. All right.
Did you know the villain's name? Casanova Frankenstein.
Casanova Frankenstein.
Right. There we go.
Jeffrey Rush.
Jeffrey Rush.
And the henchman was Eddie Izzard. He leads the Disco Boys. And they have
that is an insane movie that exists.
Michael Bay is in it.
Yes, Michael Bay is in it.
Michael Bay plays a group of villains called like the Frat Guys, and he's the head of.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, especially if you're over the age,
the pitch for this.
If you're under the age of 20, you're like, "What are you talking about?" It's a movie called Mystery Man. It came out in 2000. It's a comedy. It is a superhero team up. But just imagine a superhero team up before we even got the X-Men 2000 movie.
Yes,
it is bananas weird that it exists. Great time. Highly recommend.
There's a sentient bowling ball.
It is insane.
Is it good?
It's fantastic.
Last time I watched it, it was pretty funny.
It's definitely comical. It's definitely comical. It is not like serious in any way.
Not at all.
Yeah. But it has its a firm grasp on the satirical elements of movies that didn't even exist yet. So it's kind of interesting to visit it retrospectively.
Yeah. Tom Waits cameo.
Oh,
yeah. There's literally so many weird things going on.
It almost feels like this whole thing's like AI generated.
No, you say that, but it's a real movie that came out 25 years ago.
Yeah. And the director only did one movie. This is the only film he ever did. He went.
Wow.
He's like apparently a well-known commercial director.
Okay.
And he did one movie. And I was like, that's all I want to do. So did that. Mystery Man, debuted in the Flaming Carrot comics.
Oh my gosh!
I'm sure you guys are well aware of Flaming Carrot.
No idea what that is.
Yep.
Enlighten me.
It's just an indie comic from the 90s about a carrot on fire that fights crime.
Please go watch Mystery Man. In fact, I might turn it on after we're done with this podcast because I just the thought of it makes me laugh, and I could use some laughter right now.
Yeah. Hey, now you're an all-star.
Also, I'm not going to belabor it, but a different James Gunn superhero film, Super, another great one. Look that one up. We've got spoilers to talk about.
Shut up, crime.
So, if you do not want to be spoiled on what the title of Bleep actually is, go ahead and tune out now.
I would imagine. Can I just give him a little taste?
I wouldn't say too much, but you can say as much as. I mean, hey, it's your.
Let me just say this: like every other Marvel movie, it doesn't end well for the superheroes.
That's true. In Marvel, it doesn't end that well. Somebody always bites or gets really badly hurt.
Wait till you see this next one. Everybody dies.
Dude.
Not everybody. No. Is that?
No.
Hey, whatever.
Can we rewind that part?
Yeah. Can we? You'll cut that.
That's
part.
not.
Ooh, is there anybody in Infinity War you get to meet that you're excited to meet?
Then am I in trouble?
A little.
All right, guys. What? Kevin Feige's calling again. Yeah. I'm going to lose sponsorship money if we don't actually reveal the title right now.
That's right.
All right. Man, I need that money, dude. I need that Marvel money. Okay. Guys, the boss says if we don't actually confirm that this is the asterisk equals the new Avengers, then this podcast is destroyed. Like annihilated. So, guys, the asterisk means the new Avengers. So
with a Z.
With a Z. Yeah. That was pretty funny, actually. So, okay, we're going to jump around a little bit here, but in the final scene of the movie, Fontaine tricks the unofficial team into becoming the new Avengers, revealing the truth behind the asterisk that it was been used to market the film. And it further pays us off this idea and the post-credit stinger by sort of demonstrating that they've embraced the name through sponsorships in the media, etc. Captain America, Sam Wilson, has filed a lawsuit and trademark to retain the name Avengers. What did you guys think of this reveal? And actually, Laron, I'm going to guess you didn't know that this was going to be it.
I did not know. I did not know. If it had been a worse movie, it would have got a really big groan. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But you know what I mean? Like,
yep.
But because it was actually decent and I actually liked this, I was like, okay, so we're going back into this. It's like, so it felt like, okay, well, it could be with a worse group of people. You know what I mean? Like, so, it was surprising for me not knowing that, but it does feel like the natural place that we would be going with this. My only concern is, as we mentioned, Florence Pugh is a star. And if she's going to be the Tony Stark of this group, because I feel like that's what she would be.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She's the leader.
She's the leader. So I just want to make sure it doesn't keep her away from great indie movies also, because I don't want her to get sucked into the MCU for the next 10, 15 years.
Well, I can't promise that's not going to happen. In fact, I'm fairly confident that is going to happen. But think about it this way. She's going to do MCU movies. So
she'll do them justice.
And then she can do indie movies.
And then she can leave and do her Oppenheimer and get an Oscar for like Robert Downey Jr. So
that's right. And then she's going to come back as a totally different character in 20 years, you know, and a shameless cash grab to bring her back because she's so popular. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So it was satisfying reveal for you. You didn't. I agree. I would have groaned.
Like these people. This thing.
And like, oh, of course, is the new Avengers.
What did you think about the team being so different from the Brian Michael Bendis run?
You had me going.
All right, Alex. Me and you were talking about this off air. I was predicting the name The Dark Avengers, which is a different team actually, but I think the name's cooler. What did you make of the reveal of the new Avengers? Did you call this like months ago?
No, I did not, because first off, they're not the new Avengers. Like so the comic New Avengers is really that, as we all know, House of M.
Yes.
Destroy the Avengers. They bring Avengers back together because, of course, there's a jailbreak at the Raft caused by Electro. And so it brings together, of course, Luke Cage and Captain America and Tony Stark, and first time Spider-Man's officially on the team. So that version of the New Avengers really is just the Avengers. It's just they call it the New Avengers. So this team kind of reminds me, like, there's nothing really like it in the comics. They're not West Coast Avengers, or maybe they are, like kind of like an offshoot team.
Because listeners / Laron and Nathan, there actually is a West Coast Avengers that is separate from the actual Avengers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and there's also a Great Lakes Avengers.
Okay,
and they're terrible. all their powers suck. One of them is just like he's flat. Another guy just can't die. The other person just turns into a ball. They're not great. They're led by Squirrel Girl. Do you want to know what her powers are?
I mean, Squirrel Girl's pretty cool.
Nuts.
Yeah. She also
was a joke.
No, she controls squirrels. She's like Spider-Man, but with squirrel powers.
Cool.
Yeah. Her home base is now in Central Park.
Okay, but Squirrel Girl's pretty fun. Let's be real.
No, but so it's a unique team because it's like there's been kind of nothing like this. The only member of the team that was a new Avenger is actually is Bob. Who was on the New Avengers for a bit. So I thought it was kind of interesting.
Bob, a.k.a. the Sentry, a.k.a. the Void.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But I to be honest, I don't mind it at all. I think it adds something kind of new and funky and fun and interesting because they're not like the true Thunderbolts, because Thunderbolts in the comics were villains. And these guys really aren't villains. They're very much like kind of flawed heroes or anti-heroes. So yeah, no, I had no problem with it at all using the New Avengers name because I think it adds something to it.
Yeah, very cool. Nathan, as a person who's just sort of checking in, were you like, what was your take on the reveal?
Well, I had kind of, just because I listened to and pay attention to a lot of movie stuff, there was a lot of speculation, and I heard the Dark Avengers, even though I didn't know really what that was. So I knew I was expecting something.
Would you like me to explain the Dark Avengers in detail?
It's a pretty cool concept.
Okay, so Secret Invasion. Just kidding.
No, just joking.
Laron is getting tense.
No, good.
Yeah, but I more so appreciated the payoff in the sense of what they how they used the name to build up to the point, because I really loved the story that this is just like her soccer team, and then the way they came back to essentially the running joke, and even how Walker in the back of the car is like, "Go Thunderbolts," and then how they get all excited about that. And so I thought they did well just from a script perspective of building that moment. So I kind of really liked it because I thought it set with the tone of it. And this is totally off script, but you were talking about, I've always been a big fan of Florence Pugh, have probably seen most of her stuff. It still boggles my mind, and I think they're broken up now, that her and Zach Braff were together for so long. Yeah. I just kind of wanted to see what just their interactions. That just never made sense to me. That's a side note, but anyway.
Why was he not in the movie as like some knockoff character that she punched in the face, for example?
Oh my gosh, if JD and Turk show up at the MCU, I will freak out.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting the Dark Avengers, but I knew the asterisk. I was like, they're going to reveal a different title. Now, I didn't think they were going to do it the way they've been doing it, so we haven't addressed this on the show properly. But now that the first opening weekend is over, if you follow any of the Marvel channels on any social media, they've revealed that this is the new. They have now like changed the name. It's the new Avengers. And the billboards that were previously Thunderbolts with the asterisks have been torn away by the movie stars, and it's the new Avengers. So it's a very interesting marketing choice. I hope it pays off because I do like to see the swing.
I think they're gonna have they're gonna have a drop in this next week, but I don't think it's gonna be as significant as people thought with this whole new Avengers thing. I think it's actually a really good marketing ploy. It's not gonna be like Sinners, where Sinners like didn't move at all. But I think it's gonna help in their second weekend.
I think between the positive reviews, word of mouth, and then the title change, I think this is going to have a stronger hold than most Marvel films. Which, by the way, because usually Marvel films drop like anywhere from like 50 to 60% in their second weekend. I think you're right. I don't think it's going to be that big.
And it has been really lauded very well, critically and box office. I mean, I feel like the critical reception has been really strong. I think it's in the 90s or maybe
it's like 88, I think.
Or upper 80s. I was going to say, yeah. And the audience score is really strong because I kind of worried like whenever these movies get a little bit more mature, so to speak, if kids will like them. You know what I mean? Like, Dad, this one's kind of boring because it's about emotions. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Because kids hate Inside Out.
Right. Well, this is fair, but it's bright and colorful.
And also, exactly. Inside Out's definitely.
Inside Out didn't
it's a little
touch on meth.
Yes.
Yeah, it didn't touch on meth?
Exactly.
Are you sure? I didn't see the new one.
It didn't touch on meth and punching depression in the face.
But I saw kids in my audience and they seemed to be responding to it. Like they were laughing at the right moments and
I also think
real quick before, sorry, did your theater burst out in laughter when they made the Oklahoma joke?
Yes.
Ours did.
Yeah. We went to Oklahoma. It's flat.
Every time, and this happens a lot in a lot of movies that we've seen even just recently, anytime Oklahoma is referenced, it always feels like they did that for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I don't know who the hell that person is that wrote that line, but you know what I mean? It's like they did it specifically so that I would laugh today. You know what I mean? Like, so thank you. Yes.
I got a good laugh. Our audience laughed.
Our audience burst out for it. Yeah.
But no, Laron, I think the other thing too is I think people are going to go back and see this one more than one time too, which I mean, I don't know that I'm going to have time because there's a lot of movies and a lot of life to live and whatnot, but
you're not opposed to it.
I would definitely, if the opportunity arose, I would absolutely see this again. Whereas I wouldn't have done that for quite a few Marvel movies. Even Deadpool and Wolverine, which I had a great time with. I was like, I'm not going to see it again in the theater.
Yeah, I'll watch it at home if it's on TV or something.
Exactly.
In the middle of it.
So many times.
8 times. Well, I mean, another thing I just want to note here, we can get a little more specific. Listen, guys, most of the things this movie pays off in terms of like other films and storylines, I haven't liked most of those things. Falcon and the Winter Soldier I thought was bad. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Lauren, my wife, the other day, she's like, well, Walton Goggins was in that. And I was like, he was?
Lawrence Fishburne plays Goliath.
He did? I mean, I do remember he was in the movie, but it's one of those movies that was so forgettable. I literally couldn't tell you a thing about that movie. So it's in Black Widow, I also didn't really like that movie that much at the time either. So it was so fulfilling in a certain way to see. And again, I am in no way recommending you go back and do the homework to watch those things. I think most of the things are not very good. But I will say, as a person who did sit through that, to see all these like storyline B, C, D storylines of these characters I didn't care about finally actually get like a movie that's really good was very fulfilling in a way I did not expect.
It's like they cherry picked the good stuff from some of their lesser properties to make something much better from it. And Ghost.
Yes,
that actress does a good job. It's just the Ghost is kind of like a forgettable character.
That was one of my kind of one thing about the movie. It's hard to say you didn't like because I didn't think she did a bad job, but that was the one I hadn't seen Ant-Man and the Wasp, so I really had no context. But they also didn't provide any kind of backstory. Does she even slip into the void before everything happens?
Well, so everyone kind of slips into the void when you touch Bob.
Right. But she didn't touch Bob like some of the other characters.
Did we ever see like
she showed up in the void?
Okay,
but I don't think we. Oh, you mean in terms of her having her little moment?
Yeah,
she didn't get one.
I don't think that's what I'm saying. They kind of shortchanged her where everyone else kind of got that.
She also, but she mentions being experimented on as a child.
Even Great
times.
Value, Captain America got one.
Although
his was kind of was rough.
I was
it's super depressing.
I get why you're an asshole.
Again, that entire show was not good, but because I watched the show, you're like that moment where you see him obsessing on his phone, you're like, oh dang, holy cow, that really ruined his life.
Well, remember, like one of the few things you saw, like in Captain America or Falcon Winter Soldier, was like he has this strong marriage.
Yeah.
And this movie kind of highlights the disintegration of it because they keep talking about, well, he's married, he's got somebody at home. It's like, oh, I don't think he's got anybody at home. That guy don't look like he's goes home to nobody.
That
guy goes home.
And if they do, he does. They're not happy with him.
Bachelor apartment.
He looks like he picks his food out in the wilderness.
Yeah, he looks like he's eating ramen.
And also, you have Julia Louis-Dreyfus as this character who every time she shows up, I'm like, am I supposed to take her seriously? I don't know, but she keeps showing up, so I'm supposed to care, I guess. And it was like finally we get to see her
do something substantial.
It took me a little while for that character to click for me, but I really like the idea of the government-sponsored superhero team, and then like how she tries to manipulate all of them and turn them against each other.
And she keeps using leverage, like it's like something will not go to plan, and then she leverages it to her advantage in some capacity, which is what people do in that position. So it's like it felt very timely in that kind of way. In a
she's an evil Selena Meyer from Veep.
Yes. I've always loved her as an actress, and I do like the fact that she pulled from that, but also kind of following her just as a celebrity, and she's very politically involved.
Yeah,
I liked watching her. Like I think she's pulling a lot of real life into this character.
And then even bringing in Bucky, we've seen him quite a bit. I did love Sebastian Stan. I'm trying to figure out when it was that I fell in love with Sebastian Stan, because it just it wasn't like a once thing, but like in the last like 4 or 5 years,
I think it was I, Tonya for me. But
he's great in that movie.
He's an asshole in that movie too, but he's like but he's like an asshole that you just like love to watch.
He was in Dumb Money, and that's not what sold me on him, but I was like, I remember when I showed up and I was like, Sebastian Stan's in Dumb Money, he's so great. And I was like, wait, when did I fall in love with Sebastian Stan? He just
Hot Tub Time Machine.
Oh yeah,
the movie that kept his career afloat, $60,000 check.
He's great in that.
Did you see him as Tommy Lee in the Hulu show?
No, I didn't.
I've heard it's great though.
It was not the greatest television show ever, but it was definitely good, and he was very good in it. But,
I like the little joke about how they're like, you can look at my backstory, nothing bad ever happened to me, nothing traumatic ever happened to me. That was great.
And he said it with confidence too, like I'm good.
So anyway, I just want to touch on like anything else you guys want to add about maybe how this sort of like pays off a lot of the investment.
I think it like from the other MCU stuff. I think it does a good job of rewarding people that have watched other things with still like being good even if you haven't. I think it really found a good balance there.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And I enjoyed how the tension of this movie, once again, it was kind of like how will this all resolve? But the fact that they're dealing with Bob here with such like really like careful gloves, like just the vulnerability of like the good and the bad, and I thought that brings a lot more attention to the movie than just going like, when's the big fight? It was kind of like, oh no, this situation we have to treat a little differently than the rest, and I liked that aspect to it a lot.
Well, speaking of that aspect, let's jump into that sort of like the third act stuff in terms of like the real like meat of what's going on. So again, it's revealed that Bob is actually the character Sentry, again, aka the Void. Sort of a Superman stand-in. He's got telepathy. He's kind of schlubby, doesn't know what he's doing, but obviously is all powerful. And then all of the characters at various points in the film, largely in the third act, are sort of pulled into the Void's universe after DeFontaine tries to betray him, or does betray him, tries to kill him. They all sort of are confronting their greatest personal failures or trauma that they've experienced in their life. So what did you think about the Void, aka Bob, sort of serving as this both thematic and I would say narrative personification of depression and loneliness? There was like 3 or 4 times in this movie I was like, oh damn.
Yeah, I felt it. Like I felt it because I've dealt with that. I've dealt with that a lot in my life, and so it felt that was weirdly relatable, and finding like I like the visualization of it too. I like how invested we are in him before. Like the first interaction that with him and Florence Pugh when they're trying to get out of the vault, I think it is. And that first little mini conversation therapy session as as I say, are you guys done with your therapy? We found the entrance. Like that conversation, it's like where she finally at first she's just like, come on, dude, we got to do our thing. And she realizes, oh, I have a lot more in common with this person than I realized. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I actually relate to whatever it is you're going through. So she actually gives him some, you know what I mean, some constructive words of advice, about how to navigate his emotions. I say that, and then she redacts that because it's actually not helpful to tuck your emotions away. But I felt like that, like bringing in that kind of, again, that emotionality to it really does make his evolution more meaningful as a villain in this sense, but also just like the actual aesthetic visualization of him when he is the Void. I found that really compelling in a way. It didn't look cheesy. It actually looked ominous.
Yeah.
And it was subtle enough. I was like, you get it. You kind of see a little glimmer of the eyes, but it's not all here. It's a void. So I found that was really a clever way to do that. And all of the interweaving moments of seeing the characters dealing with their individual personal traumas and past experiences that have kind of shaped the state of mind that they're all in was really a compelling way to, illustrate that, and so it made his character not just this, you know what I mean? Like this all powerful, they're like, hey, it's all the Avengers wrapped into one.
Right.
I hated that line so much because I'm like, okay, they're always the more powerful one. It's like this one's more powerful than the other one, but it's like, my
friend, do not watch Secret Invasion because that's literally
just like
they turned Daenerys into that character.
They just turned him into this thing. I was like, but the idea that the darkness that's an existential problem as much as it isn't as one that's right in front of them, so and it can't just be fought with just like you said, hitting them in the face, because then they all have to deal with their own demons. And I thought
that was really great. Like even when he does start to like he stands up, and like even when they're like and they're the little Inception dream sequence that they're in where Bob is confronting the Void and he starts punching him, and at first like, oh, it's good. Oh, he's standing up to it. That's great. And then he starts punching him and just keeps going. And they're like, oh, wait, no, that's bad. This is what he wants. He wants to consume you with anger, and and just it just kind of showcases this is a very new depression and this loneliness. It's a very nuanced, complex emotion that you have to solve. You can't just do one thing and it's beat for good. It's sort of like an ongoing way, a thing that's always there. And really, the way to fight it is to surround yourself with friends and people who care about you.
Yeah. A movie that's been really kind of more like was vehemently hated at the time, but I really think has been becoming to like a cult classic status, where is Tarsum's The Cell, with Jennifer Lopez, and I've always thought I always thought it was a great movie. Then I remember it was like one of Roger Ebert's favorite movies that year, and it was canned by critics. But I think if you rewatch it in today's context, it hits really hard. But the reason I bring that up is because she's going into the psyche of a serial killer, in a Matrix style kind of login kind of space, and she's there in his hellscape of horrors of all of the traumatic things that he's done. And the only way she can access this serial killer's mind is to talk to the child inside of him. You know what I mean? And nurture that child into healing him into that space so that he doesn't do these terrible things that he does in the real world. And I saw a lot of connections there, so I probably should have recommended that movie earlier, but that's something that also I found compelling about it.
Tarsum's The Cell. I haven't watched it, and frankly, when I watched it the first time, I watched it because the internet told me it was bad. So I definitely need to revisit that one because you've mentioned that a couple times here. What a cut though! I wouldn't have expected that in a Thunderbolts conversation. No, I think that's an astute point though. It is a very nuanced approach to talking about very complex emotions via the vehicle of a superhero film. Yeah, I don't know, Alex, what was your take on the way they sort of wrestle with these complex emotions and thoughts?
I think it actually added something to like the Void from the comics. So I think they did a really good job. I think once again, sometimes when you watch a superhero film, you just want to see Superman punch a robot. But other times, like, you want to see them in a different situation. I think this was a good. The ending of this kind of also makes me think about the ending of Civil War. The Civil War ends with a fight, but it's like a fight you don't want to see.
Yeah.
It's a much more like it's a much more like an emotional confrontation than anything else.
It's different than just punching a bad guy in the face. It's like the bad guy is your friend.
You're struggling against
right?
The people.
Very intimate. Yeah.
And so this also felt intimate. I think them being stuck in those rooms, like, it all felt like there was high stakes. Like, emotionally high stakes, not just like, oh, the city is going to disappear, but like they're going to lose themselves in their darkest moments of their lives. And they did a good job of making you care about all those characters and like, what rooms they're in and like how they're going to get out of those. So I think they did a fantastic job. I think visually, the visual of the void and also the way he put people into the void.
Did your audience gasp when the little girl is poofed? You're like, whoa!
I was like, oh, damn, we're just gonna wipe out a child.
It reminds me. It looks like how they like. This is so super dark. When the nukes went off and you saw the shadows of the. That's what it was like. You're like, holy cow! That's
what they based him on.
Really?
They based him on that. Yeah.
Oof. Interesting. Yeah, I wasn't in a very crowded theater because I saw it like in the middle of the day, but the few people that were in there, the gasp felt like a full theater because it even I don't really respond that way like audibly to things. And I went, whoa.
but like apparently a little girl who they just saved getting turned like nuked in a Marvel film is not something you expect to see.
Yeah.
I mean, like when you watch stuff, like you usually assume like little kids are fine and so are dogs.
Right.
So when anything happens to any of them, you're like really not okay.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you guys want to add about how this film sort of the third act wraps up?
Yeah. I just as someone, and it sounds like I'm bragging, and I'm not. And this is a good thing. I have not personally dealt with a lot of personal trauma. I mean, I know everybody has their things, but I would say probably someone that, and I do try to take the time to understand. And I thought this film really painted that portrait very, very well. Like it almost in a way of like, not that this is the best way to describe, and it's not a representation of everyone's experience, but I feel like, especially when she steps into the void, Florence Pugh's character, and not just that one. Well, she had several moments of trauma, but that one specific one in the woods where she's setting up the assassination of another girl. But the fact that she just doesn't see it, but then it happens again, and that she can't escape it. And I thought that
just keeps playing in your head.
Yeah, the visual of that and not being able to escape from that. And then I love I know other films have done it. I can't help but think of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but how they go into the other rooms, I just thought how they visually did that and the things that they were playing with there. I just thought
like the chicken.
yeah. But it's kind of, especially like, once again, like for a Marvel movie, I felt like that is a really good way to be like, oh, that's what people can get really caught up in.
Yeah.
No, I think at the end of the movie, I mean, you are not like, really, you're rooting for them to heal.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're not rooting for them to win or save the city.
Yeah.
You're rooting for healing. We should all root for other people's healing.
100%. Like you're rooting for them to find a way out of the room where they're trapped by themselves.
Yeah.
Which again, I think goes back to the idea of like, there's not always a clear cut answer on how to do that other than surround yourself with people who will help you and you can work through it together.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're not giving an easy solution to the problem.
Again, you can't punch it in the face. You can't just like mind wipe it away. It's there.
It's a process.
Yeah.
But
I think that's what it is. This movie is very human, and that's so many of these movies are not.
Right.
Like I said, it does kind of get rid of the super, just human.
Yep.
Just human. So or super asterisk.
Way deeper. This is probably one of the deeper conversations we've had on a Marvel movie in a while. I love it. So this film ends with the arrival of the Fantastic Four.
Or is it?
I mean,
it probably is.
I was spoiled. I was spoiled by the post credits because I saw that the theme for Fantastic Four, the first steps, was listed in the credits, and I was like, that wasn't in the movie anywhere. Oh wait, it's in the post credits stinger.
That's why I went to the bathroom during that part.
Good strategy. So you know,
I drank too much soda.
So I mean, this really, you know, to quote Deadpool, Thunderbolts comes to the MCU at a bit of a low point, with the major caveat that the Fantastic Four and the next Avengers movies are featuring the X-Men are on their way to mark another major paradigm shift in sort of the MCU. Now, this film opened at $76 million at the domestic box office, which is good enough in that it wasn't a flop. It definitely made more money than the Captain America movie recently. But I wouldn't say it's great, especially when you compare this to the other Marvel films that have opened this summer. This is the second lowest one, just above 2011's Thor. So I guess, you know, knowing what we've got coming down the pipeline, does this reinvigorate your interest in the larger mega franchise? And Nathan, I'm gonna throw it to you only because you seem to be the one who's the least plugged into like all the ins and outs of it.
Yeah, this movie definitely did. Like I would like to see these group of people again. Now there was a trailer for the Fantastic Four even before this film. Even though I know that movie's coming, that was the first time I saw the trailer and stuff. So I will say there's a little bit of like, oh, there's an investment here. There's going to be this movie and then this movie and this movie. But as far as these group of characters go, like I would love to see them on screen again.
But see, now you got to know how the Fantastic Four got there, because you know that that's where they're going to end the Fantastic Four movie now.
Yeah,
the first steps.
How familiar are you with the multiverse?
I mean, so I grew up reading comics, but like just like here and there, like I had a box, but there was no rhyme or reason to any of the characters. So I have a base knowledge of like the big ones, like Spider-Man and everybody like that. But Sentry, like that character, this was the first time I had heard of that name.
Well, Sentry debuted in 99 or 2000.
He's pretty late.
He's
game,
new.
yeah.
Well, but technically he was created in the 60s. We'll go into that later.
Oh my gosh. Laron, how about you? I mean, you and I have both been grieving the MCU for quite a while on this show, and we've even said,
well, and I always hate being cynical because I know there's millions of people that still like these things, and I don't want to be the person in the room who's just like,
right, yeah.
You know, even though I am, it's like I am that person, but I also understand that I have things that other people don't love. You know what I mean? That I am super passionate about. You know, like so. It's nice. It's nice when we can all be in the same camp. You know what I mean? Like, and where it's like, okay, they did something that was more broadly appealing outside of just being someone who is so drilled into this sort of thing. You know, like they brought me in for other reasons that I like movies. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Character driven. You know, like, you know, actually dealing with, you know, layered characters. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing is what I think makes good movies. So it doesn't matter what that movie is. You know, like, so for me, if they're going in that kind of direction and they don't lose sight of the things that kind of made this thing a success or you know, from just the merit standpoint of the movie, then yeah, I'd be interested to see more. And hopefully, if the team is invested in those sort of things. I don't know yet because there's, you know.
Does what you've seen from the Fantastic Four lead you to believe that might be the case?
What I've seen so far,
right?
Yeah, what I've seen so far, yes. Okay. You know, like so. And now that I've seen this, I'm actually more excited about that than I was even before. Right. You know, like so. And I feel like Fantastic Four is also similarly to Superman, something that has not been done yet. Right?
Has not been done
right. So,
yep.
You know, we never know. Maybe we're getting it all this year. Or maybe we'll get the good Superman and the good Fantastic Four movies.
I would say, I think the future of the comic book movie genre, as we've known it so far, really does hinge on those two movies making money this summer. I'm exaggerating.
I agree. If these movies don't do well, then I feel like I'll be right back where I said before. Like, hey, Thunderbolts was good.
Yeah. Well, and also,
the others, asterisk.
Well, I mean, also just looking at the box office, I mean, all of the DC movies, I mean, there was, I know it was like kind of just a shit list that we got thrown on at the end. There was like 4 movies a couple of years, was it last year, 2 years ago? And they were all bad. Or even if they were okay. Well, they didn't make money. Okay, they didn't make money.
I will defend Blue Beetle.
It was fine. It didn't make money though. So
no, it did not make money.
It didn't make money. And the Marvel films, other than Deadpool and Wolverine, have really not been making the money they used to. So if you don't get a Fantastic Four that makes tons of money, and they're like, okay, we're going to get at least one Avengers movie.
Yeah.
And if Superman isn't a huge hit, well, I think Warner Brothers is going to cancel James Gunn's whole cinematic universe real fast. So, but the flip side is, to your point, is if they make good movies,
if you make good movies,
people will show up.
People will show up. It does. That's the thing. Is like you have to care about that too. It can't just be like, let's make a movie so that people show up and watch it. Like, make it so they like it, so that the next one does even better than the last one. That's kind of the idea. It's like, yeah, if you have Marvel as on the title, then people are going to show up. It doesn't mean they're going to like it,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Like, but you gotta find
That's how we feel about Star Wars films.
Find the balance about both. You know, like
on different podcasts, Alex. You can't do this.
Going into both.
Alex, what are you? Are you more excited for the future of the MCU?
Yeah, this has made me feel a lot better. I remember walking out of Quantum Mania and like exhaling and going, "Oh no!" Like, because I was pretty positive
about Jonathan Major's career, or about the. Never mind. That's
no.
That's also another podcast.
Hey, that was before we knew.
It is true. It was before we knew. You should have. If you
about 2 months.
Go back and listen to that podcast. How we were just singing his praises, and then like 2 days later, it was like. We don't talk about that guy anymore.
We did the Quantumania, and then like a week later we did Creed 3, and we're like man, this is gonna Magazine Dreams is coming. He's got the Oscar, and he's got the money coming. Oh,
and now I'm sad.
Yikes. But I will say, Magazine Dreams is a good movie. You should still see it. Don't just seek it privately.
Like not on podcast.
Shame watch it at home. You know.
Don't you dare watch Magazine Dreams.
Do you have a review of it on Letterboxd?
I will have a review on the Cinematropolis for it pretty soon. It's coming on VOD and other things later this month.
Well, I'll say this though. I mean, I remember leaving that and being like depressed, like, oh my gosh, like the feeling is gone. Like whatever this was, I mean, it just and everything else kind of felt off kilter because I was trying to be positive. I would leave a lot of movies like that was fine. Yeah, it was good. Like and then go to my car and listening to sad music. But this is the first one that I'm like, okay, once again, I talked about it earlier, but like there is now a feeling of anticipation and like that we're going somewhere that I'm excited about. And we haven't felt that way in a long time.
Yep.
Like, and apparently in Wakanda Forever, there was supposed to be some of that, and they took it out because they really wanted that movie to focus on celebrating Chadwick, which I get. I totally get. Because that movie was apparently supposed to they were supposed to mention Latverians. Which is Doctor Doom's.
Doctor Doom's race.
Yeah. And so, but I feel like, they're mentioning things that are coming, especially showing at the end, in that end credit scene, seeing the Fantastic Four ship. And you're like, oh, that's coming in a few months. Like it's coming. So it feels like things are happening. And I as I said kind of before, it feels that they are really getting their arms back around the universe because the universe is getting big and pretty unwieldy.
Very unwieldy. I'd argue too unwieldy, which is why when I watched the post-credit scene, I really do feel a sense of confidence both in the Fantastic Four. Like they seem very confident about that project, the way they tease them here.
The first family.
I mean, and that's the other thing. Like I know a lot of people who haven't read comics don't understand this, but like Fantastic Four is actually like a critical piece of Marvel that we've not actually gotten on the big screen, especially in the MCU. They're very important.
Stan Lee was not happy with what he was doing at Marvel, aka Timely Comics, and was thinking about leaving. And his wife said, well, before you do, you should do something that you love. And if it doesn't work, then you gave it your all and you can get out. And that's when he created the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four was really the first step of creating what is Marvel. And that's when, after that, you get Hulk, Iron Man, Spider-Man, all that other stuff. But really, without the Fantastic Four being there, Stan would have left, and who knows where these comics would be. But he wouldn't have all the major characters that Stan Lee created with Jack Kirby. Of course, Jack Kirby, of course, is a big part of all the creation of this stuff. I mean, essentially, the Thing is Jack Kirby. They are really important. If you're in DC and a big giant monster lands on Earth and he says, "Who is the protector of this planet?" It's Superman. In Marvel Comics, it's the Fantastic Four. If there's a problem, people don't turn to Steve. They don't turn to Tony. It's always Reed Richards. And so, you really have to establish that these people, and they're not crime fighters. No, they're more adventurers.
He's a like Mr. Fantastic is a scientist. In fact, they're all scientists to a degree. It's
well, no, that's Ben's not. Ben's just a kid from Yancey Street.
Okay, yeah.
He's just Mama Grin's blue-eyed baby boy.
Sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Fantastic are scientists. Sorry, important correction there. I say it to say the character focus we got here, and then the way that knowing what we know about what they're bringing into the next Avengers movie, looking at the Fantastic Four trailer, saying this looks promising. Don't hurt me again. I'm feeling a sense of confidence and a clear direction.
Do you kind of feel like you've gotten out of a bad breakup and you're going out on your first dates again, just like really guarded, not wanting to be hurt again?
And they paid for dinner. Yes.
I mean, it does feel that way because I do feel like in my heart I've been broken with Marvel for probably about 3 or 4 years. You know, occasionally I have a one night fling like Deadpool and Wolverine, and it's fun, but it's hollow. This one is. Oh wait, I think
we're all having a dating existential
I think the
crisis,
question
and 2 of us
is-
are married. 3 of us are married, right?
Yeah.
I'm alone.
long way of saying to put a pin on that. I'm excited about where it's going, which is a thing I didn't think I'd be saying. I had kind of given up a while ago because it seems like we are honing in a direction that I can see the path forward. Which, by the way, we're going to stop here. Once these 2 Avengers movies, because we've got the next one, Doomsday, and then we've got Secret Wars the next year. It's going to be a clear. It's going to be a huge reset. Which, if you've not read comics, that's when
I have.
Alex,
I wasn't sure.
Hey, Alex, could you explain to me what a reset is?
I thought you wanted me to explain what a Secret War is, and I was going to ask which one because
there are multiple.
Well, there's 3 Secret Wars. Really, there's 2 big ones.
But no, the concept of a reset,
comics in and of itself know that they're unwieldy. And the most famous reset was in DC Comics a long time ago called Crisis on Infinite Earths, where essentially this big monster tries to destroy all reality. The superheroes fight back from different universes, and eventually they're able to save the world, but everything gets merged into one planet. And they reset, and when they did that, they reset everybody's timelines. Like everyone was kind of starting from zero, except for Superman and Batman. They kind of had like some of their major stuff, but really everybody was starting from zero. And comics have done this a lot. Marvel's only done it a few times. DC does it all the time.
All the time.
Oh my gosh.
Ask
DC,
how many crises comics are.
So many
alive.
crises. Oh, you got Final Crises. You've got Infinite Crisis. You got Identity Crises.
A lot of crises.
You've got Heroes in Crisis. That one's, I mean, trust me.
You think we're joking? No, they all include the word crisis.
And I can tell you about all of them if you want. Laron looks like he wants to hear about all of them.
I do.
Well, I say this
over
because
a strong drink.
Well, because the whole thing is like we've got the X-Men coming, and that's the thing we all want. But also, it's like, well, how do you deal with? How do you fit the X-Men into the MCU if they've never existed? Well, here's how you do it. We're gonna have these 2 Avengers movies. The Fantastic Four are gonna show up. We're gonna have these 2 Avengers movies where they all fight each other, and then I don't know exactly how we're gonna get there, but it's gonna end with here is the new status quo. It's all back to one universe. Here's the new team. I'm sure the Fantastic Four are gonna be back around. I'm sure the X-Men will be a part of it, and then you'll probably have a new Tony Stark and a new Captain America. Anyway, we could keep going.
Well,
but,
I think because the next one's Avengers Doomsday, then Avengers Secret Wars. The Secret Wars that they're probably alluding to is the one from the 2010s, where essentially they merged a couple of different universes and did a reset, a slight reset in Marvel. That's actually what brought Miles Morales into the main Marvel universe because he was in the Ultimate Universe for a long time. And so I think that's what they're alluding to. Whatever that's going to be, it's going to be a convergence of worlds and timelines. Who knows? We might get Battle World. We might get the Beyonder.
I think we're gonna get Battle World.
We're gonna get Beyonder though.
I think Doctor Doom's going to stand in for the Beyonder.
I don't know. Beyonder, he looks pretty cool with his disco outfit.
But they've got Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom, so I'm thinking it's going to be him.
Yeah, I'm really. That's the only thing that still has me kind of upset.
Yeah, not a bad choice. Very bad choice.
You should have. You should have paid for a big time. Like if they said like, hey, we just brought a bunch of money to make Viggo Mortensen do it or something like that. Like you should have gone with a big time actor, and somebody that the whole Robert Downey Jr. thing is just confusing.
This is where, as Laron and I made a joke, I think on our last episode where we talked about the casting announcement. It feels on paper this next Avengers movie feels like an extremely desperate attempt to get people back in.
It seems like they're like, no, don't worry, there's an evil twin. That's kind of some bad book in there. But I'm hopeful. I think once again, I think converging stuff together. They've got to bring in the mutants. I think once the mutants get here, it's going to be a lot better.
Sure. Guys, once the X-Men are here, I'm back on board.
Dude, we're going to get Dazzler. We're going to get Dazzler, guys.
I'm excited.
She's coming.
I'm also just excited to see new actors playing the X-Men. And I know this has been a thing. Like, I love the cast, but like, Ian McKellen, my guy, when they said he was in the new movie, I was like, this dude's like 85 years old. And I love him. He was incredible in the role, but like...
How long can he do it?
Exactly. And there's other actors who I think are more than capable to do something really different and interesting, you know, for example. Anyway.
Fancast right now, go.
Listen, I would do that, Alex, but I feel like Nathan and Laron have glossed over long ago. So I got this off my chest. Did you get this off your chest?
Yeah, no. But if you want to, I can go through the quick Sentry history.
You know, maybe we'll save that for a bonus episode. Yeah. Oh wait, hold on. I'm getting a call. All right, it's Kevin Feige. He says, "Wrap it the bleep up." He says bleep because he can't curse on the air.
He's not allowed to.
PG-13.
Which hat are you wearing right now? Is it the X-Men hat? It's the okay. All right, thanks, bud. All right, guys, we are out of time today. The big boss says so. You know, I got to cash this Disney check somehow. So, hey, guys, it's been such a fun time chatting about Thunderbolts and all sorts of Marvel shenanigans with you. It's the first time in a while I've enjoyed chatting about Marvel shenanigans. Alex, it's been so great having you on the show. Thanks for joining. Thanks for bringing all of your comic book expertise and knowledge to the show.
I try.
Where can people keep up with all the cool things you're doing with the Oklahoma Film Society?
Oklahoma Film Society. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. We have a screening coming up this month. We're right now working on the third. We screen on the third Thursdays at Radio Cinema in the Stockyards. And this month we are showing Wild Zero.
Ooh.
It's a movie not a lot of people have seen. It is about a Japanese rockabilly band that is essentially fighting to save the world from Evil Dead type monsters. It is awesome.
That sounds awesome.
And then the month after that, on the third Thursday, we are showing Heat.
Like the recent release 4K?
Like Michael.
Yeah.
Like
Michael Mann's Heat.
Mm-hmm. No, not the Heat. Heat.
No, not Sandra Bullock. That's because of Sandra Bullock's The Heat. Heat, the incredible classic. Just got a 4K re-release recently.
Exactly.
Ooh, buddy. Sign me up for the Heat.
Yep. I want everyone to come dressed different, whatever your favorite Heat character is. I want
Val
Heat.
Kilmer.
I want Heat cosplay.
That's right. Heat cosplay.
A lot of dark colors there.
Yeah.
Sunglasses from the 90s, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
You guys won't even see me in there. It's like,
gosh. Well, it's been a fun time. Nathan, where can people keep up with you and all your work online?
Right. Yeah. The best place to go is moviesarethe.com. So we have all our episodes and reviews up there. It's been a bit since we've done a podcast episode, but it's still, all the links are there. So if you link into Spotify or Apple Podcasts, our whole library is there. And we've covered a lot of different movies, but we recently wrapped on the 50 best rom-coms. And so that was a fun voyage to take. So but the reviews are kind of all over the place, but yeah, I just like writing about things that I watch. So there's a recent review of Sinners up there and some older stuff as well. So yeah, check it out.
Materialist this summer, rom-coms, they might be back.
I know.
Let's go.
I don't think that's a rom-com. I think some people are going to be very sad in that movie.
I mean,
it's Celine's song. It can't be too nice.
You're right. It can't be too funny. You're right.
It's just going to be sexy and sad.
Chris Evans is always sad. Chris Evans is always sad these days. Well, Nathan Chandler, it's been such a pleasure. Thanks for joining.
You.
Laron Chapman, where can people keep up with you and your work online?
You can follow my bite-sized film reviews on Letterboxd at black_Cine_man. Or you can follow my longer form reviews on the Cinematropolis.com. Real Insights with Laron Chapman.
Ladies and gentlemen, check Laron out, all the platforms. He's awesome. His reviews are great. You can find me, of course, over at the Cinematropolis.com. We're on all the social medias, mostly Letterboxd and Instagram these days, at C Masters Talk. That is letter C, Masters Talk. Occasionally on Blue Sky. I like to hang out on Blue Sky. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you again next time, here in a couple weeks, when we do a review, or reviews, I should say, of Final Destination Bloodlines, followed by Until Dawn. Which is the better horror film? Gotta tune in to find out. Until next time.